right. So I guess while we wait on Rio, we can just get some of the other stuff out of the way really quick here. So just for a bit of I guess for some background, Dan, would you remind everybody or just kind of recount when you what was your first experience with the Trails series? Because obviously, like, everybody in this community at least knows you as the de facto Trails guy, but I don't know if we've ever heard you tell the story of how you got into the series.
Fucking chat played it because I bugged the shit out of you to play it.
Yes, this is true, but yeah, it's like, but I feel like it would be fitting, like, how did you get into the series?
Funny enough, I haven't spoken to him in ages, but an old friend of mine actually got me into it. Funny enough, it was kind of like an exchange. It's like he got me into Trails, and like I got him into Persona. Funny enough, by playing P4, actually by playing Persona Q of all things.
Of all games, Persona Q.
Yeah, because I was talking to him about it, and then like I showed him when I was playing PQ, and I showed him it, and he was just like, oh, and then he got into it, and then that would have been about. I think I first started playing it, I think, about 17, 18, so nearly 10 years. I didn't get into it like right away. It wasn't until 2019 when I actually like recorded it for my YouTube channel. I don't post on anymore.
Oh yeah, right.
My streams and YouTube channel are pretty much the same fucking thing.
I mean, that makes sense. I guess that makes sense. Yeah. But it's honestly, it's honestly kind of interesting to hear that you basically got that friend into a series, and then they got you into a series, and then in that turn snowballed to you getting like a bunch of other people involved and interested in that series. So I guess what goes around comes around.
Very much, very true. It's funny because like Trails was like this isn't just like Cold Steel, but this is more specifically to Cold Steel 2. This was obviously when I was recording it and stuff. I did a 10-hour recording session one day, and I don't think I've still recovered from it.
Cold Steel. From what I remember, Cold Steel 2 does that to a motherfucker. So honestly, I can't exactly blame you there.
I think that was me trying to get. The thing was, that was me trying to get through the finale of Cold Steel 2, like the Infernal Castle and everything.
Which finale?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the Infernal Infernal Castle and all that stuff. And I still didn't fucking finish the game after the 10-hour recording session, so I have to do it again tomorrow. I have to do it again the next day. I think I ended up doing like another 3 hours or something like that. Ridiculous.
Well, then again, the Infernal Castle is pretty long, so
it is very long.
I mean, then again, I've only ever played the only playthrough of Cold Steel 2 I've ever done was the playthrough I did when I streamed it, and even then it was like, wow, this dungeon's fucking long.
It really is.
Indeed. Also, hello Rio, good to see you. Thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. Glad to be on for the first time in a while.
Heck yeah. So we just started out. I just asked. Dan was just recounting the trail of how he got into the series and whatnot. Since it's our main talking point for today and all that. So I figured I should ask you the same thing. So what was your first experience with the Trail series? Like, how did you get into it?
Yeah. So I'll go back a little bit because there's some context before I got into Trails.
Oh, okay.
There, and it's a series we were all very familiar with in Fire Emblem.
Oh, really? Okay.
So Fire Emblem was my path into JRPGs generally.
Right.
With Fire Emblem Awakening. And after that, I was looking around for other turn-based RPGs, and at that point there weren't a lot, I will say, on PC, Steam, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there were specifically 2 turn-based RPGs that I found that interested me in my search through there. One of them was definitely more in the strategy RPG scene, but still JRPG in Valkyria Chronicles.
Yep. Yep. I mean, Valkyria it is a strategy game. So yes, it is very similar to Fire Emblem, but I mean, there are definitely some noticeable differences in that regard.
And the other one was Trails of the Sky First Chapter Original.
Oh yeah, the original Sky First Chapter. Yep.
And at that point, this is a stage of my life where I am going into most games blind. So that was the experience. I knew from some reviews that I had read about, talking to the NPCs multiple times about the feature that still I would love to have seen come back in the remake, but I knew was never going to happen with the chest quotes.
Oh yes, absolutely. Like so iconic, so iconic. I mean, and then again, I've only ever played Zero and Azure that had the chest messages in them, but the fact that they took something so just completely irrelevant, like just dummy text for after opening a chest, and turned it into a running gag for the first 5 games of the series. That's already a good sign if you're making fun out of just some of the most obscure things possible.
So then I played Trails of the Sky First Chapter. It took a little bit to get into it because again, I was coming from the strategy side of things.
Yeah.
As much as I think that Trails of the Sky First Chapter has good combat and stuff like that, it's not particularly strategic.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit. And I initially also bounced off Estelle a little bit as a protagonist.
Yep,
I know,
absolutely.
very strange to think about now.
Yep, absolutely.
But that was, so it took a little bit, but I kept playing through it. It really was when Chloe showed up that I really got invested.
Oh yeah.
And it just went from there, and the timing of me getting into Sky was pretty good because I believe that I played it, and then a couple months later, Trails of the Sky second chapter released in English.
It's like it was fate. It's like it was fate.
And for those who know the history behind that, that was a long adventure that it took to get to the point where Trails of the Sky second chapter was even going to release in English. I'm trying to look back in things here. So yeah, so Sky second chapter, when did that actually release on Steam? I'm trying to piece together the timeline.
Yeah, because wasn't first chapter, I believe, was, if I remember correctly, that was like a early mid 2000s release, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so Sky First Chapter was 04.
Right,
yeah,
okay.
Second chapter was 06.
Okay, so yeah, a 2-year gap in between that, at least for Japan and whatnot.
Yeah, but worldwide, 2015 is when Sky second chapter released.
Wow.
That's the same year that Cold Steel released.
So that's the interesting thing. So Sky First Chapter released in 2011 in the West.
Oh, so 2011, and then a 4-year gap between that, and obviously you can chalk it up to the localization time and whatnot. But the fact that it took that 4-year gap is genuinely it's surprising, and it also just kind of it's a neat thing to look back on in that regard, where we've come so far as the wait time in between games and whatnot, and then especially there was a recent article, I'm pretty sure you might have seen it, Rio, but they were talking about like I think it was a Falcom executive talking about sales figures and whatnot, and how Trails' popularity and like overall sales in Japan have been kind of like declining recently.
Yep.
But in the West, they're actually like skyrocketing. Well, maybe not skyrocketing, but they're very noticeably larger than Japan. So there is a demand, maybe not as much in Japan anymore, but the West is absolutely loving this series. And I think that's honestly, it just goes to show that, obviously maybe they took a chance on localizing this over in the West and whatnot. Maybe it wasn't a hit initially, but now it's very clear to see that that was the right choice to make.
Yes, and truly that is the story of Trails, and just generally I got into Trails at exactly the right time in the mid 2010s. So I got into it, Sky second chapter releases, Cold Steel 1 releases, Sky the third releases, Cold Steel 2 releases, all of that around that time, and those are the ones I played. And then that's also when I got into the wider fandom and learning more about the cross-spell ones and about the issues of getting that and the history and all there. So to go back to Sky First Chapter, though, it originally released on PSP only.
Oh,
in
right,
2011,
yeah.
And it didn't do well in the West.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't do terribly, but it didn't do well. It took until the 2014 PC release that it actually kind of took off. And again, timing, we're talking about the time when I was really getting into RPGs of that kind, because Fire Emblem Awakening was 2013.
Yep.
So right around that same time as I'm looking for new games, that's when these things are coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was lucky in the timing on that, and that just led me into the Trails path, and I would not be here in a lot of different capacities without Trails. Although it's definitely Fire Emblem Awakening that gets the major
for sure
credit on that.
Yep. Even when it's not related to its own series, Fire Emblem is still helping people discover new horizons and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Okay, so speaking of horizons, that'll lead me into the first little talking point that I had and whatnot. So, with the release of Beyond the Horizons over in the West, we have now officially caught up with the Trails series for the first time ever. So, I guess what it was started with, first thing I wanted to start with, what did we think of Horizons? Rio, I'll start with you. What were your overall thoughts on Horizons?
I thought Trails Beyond the Horizon was a very good game, very good Trails game. It is ultimately, and we'll talk about this more, I'm sure, it's going to be really, does it stand the test of time with how they resolve all that happened?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
This is the Calvard Arcs Trails of Cold Steel 3. And that, for better or worse, I think I enjoyed that it was really getting into the meat of what is the main plot of this, while still maintaining some of that character detail. The combat continues to get better. I think that it's probably my favorite of the Calvard games thus far, but it's not without its flaws and issues, which I talked about more in my video on it.
Absolutely.
Specifically, the two things. One, and I know you and I talked about this a little bit, I'm getting a little tired of the American Garden, all those gardens and additional stuff beyond that. And then the second one, and I feel a little off saying this, but the three paths didn't feel necessary to me. As much as each path did have important stuff in there, I think that there was a way to do that, and the Kevin and Reen's stuff was good, but mainly on the main plot stuff. I didn't actually feel like I got much more from them as characters. And so I feel like their roles could have been more like Estelle and Joshua in Trails from Zero.
Right,
where we still
yeah.
see these scenes, we see the impact that we do those. And maybe even we have an occasional gameplay section with them. I'm thinking about the end of the Reen one in Basel.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, that sequence deserved to be gameplay into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that sequence
and
for
the
sure.
Tower for Kevin.
Oh, yes.
But beyond that, it just felt a lot like packing things in.
Indeed.
So, good overall. And we'll see how they stick the landing.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Dan, what about you?
I'd say Beyond the Horizon. Beyond the Horizons, I would say is a good game. I will say the Gods suck. There's no two ways about this. They suck. Like, especially the Mechian Garten in Daybreak 2, I didn't mind. I hate the Grim Garten in Horizons because why do I need to play a game in my game? This makes no sense. Like, why have I got to go across a board to do this? And then also I have to then do the same floor multiple times to get the S rank, and even then sometimes the S rank reward isn't even fucking worth it. And most of it revolves around RNG to get the thing that you want. This stinks. But it might be the only good thing to come out of the Garten was Orica and Simone. That's the only, and also maybe the scene right at the end with the Grandmaster and Novartis. Even though I want to pile drive Novartis off of a fucking mountain.
Don't we all? Don't we all?
That's the most normal reaction.
Yup, exactly.
But yeah, but also it's it feels like the Garten is it's the Reverie Corridors light, but again we'll get into Reverie later because I love that game. But yeah, I do agree. Maybe with the whole Reen and Kevin passes, they were supplements to the main story. I did kind of find the Kevin stuff interesting. This is also because I haven't played SC yet because I'm waiting for the remake to come out, so I don't really know much about his character. So that was kind of cool to see him. And then obviously more with Rufus and spoilers, but again, everyone here's already played it. So if you haven't, I'm sorry, but you shouldn't be here.
Pretty much, yeah.
With Rufus and obviously seeing Swin and Nadia again and Lapis and all that was nice. And then also the mystery again, I was kind of intrigued with the whole mystery of what the fuck was Professor Hamilton doing. There's Kevin needed to bring back his heretic hunter side, which is still, by the way, one of the best nicknames anyone's gotten in Trails.
It is pretty metal. Let's be real.
So cool.
Oh, y'all have a lot to look forward to.
Oh yeah. I can only imagine. Trust me, the September cannot come sooner. I'm so excited for that second chapter remake.
And then Reen stuff was nice, mostly because again, obviously I have quite strong emotional attachment to Class 7, so that it was nice to Reen stuff didn't necessarily add too much to the story, in my opinion. It was nice, little bits of context here and there. And then again, as you said, that scene in that fight scene in Basel between Shizuna and Reen, chef's kiss. That was so good.
Honestly, yeah, we were. I mean, then again, they've been teasing and hyping that duel up since that extra daydream from Reverie, and honestly, even though I think it was Kuragane. I think it was Kuragane that had said they'll have to wait until their fight to their proper duel for another time and whatnot. So even if that was just a taste of what is to potentially come in this next game, I'd say they definitely more than delivered on at least a good fraction of the hype for their first official meeting since that daydream and whatnot.
Yeah, it was really good, and also getting to like my favorite character that they introduced in that we actually got to see finally in Horizons was Yun Ka-Fai. Like,
yes,
he's so cool, and like Van and when you actually first kind of get to see a glimpse of what he can do in like the hospital stuff, where like he just takes out all of like the corrupted patients without actually hurting them, was so cool. And like his fight that you do at the end of Reen's path, really good, and I liked all the stuff he could do. So again, Yun Ka-Fai top, top tier. I love him already. And like the only thing, again, Van's pathway was good. Obviously, it was the main side. It was neat. The only gripe I have about it is I didn't really like the whole like the Van and Agnes like going around at the night stuff, and then like that whole confession seemed a little bit weird, in my opinion, mostly because it's the age gap stuff, and we won't get into that. But but another, I think my main issue that I have with Horizons, and I feel like this might be the Calvard games in general, is I feel like they try to cram too many. It's not just a me thing, because I'm pretty sure other people feel this way, but it's like how I've handled stories without going into them properly. Is like you shove so many ideas into the story that you kind of can't like pay off all of these story points that you're trying to introduce. Because like I must have missed something, because like Rene revealing himself to be like that white Grendel,
the Grendel should die
out of nowhere.
That one was definitely
out of nowhere, right?
It did feel that way, but honestly, I mean, maybe it's just how I interpret a lot of this stuff too, but like there were some hints present, as like obviously there was, then again, that was the entire theme of Beyond the Horizons, was just nothing is as it seems. There's always something like brewing beneath the surface. And then, but then again, I've also kind of noticed that the series does kind of have a tendency to do this with its storytelling, is where it'll present a lot of these issues and a lot of these mysteries, and it'll start giving you like breadcrumbs to like give you ideas to what's going on, but it won't actually like fully like reveal everything or like help connect those final dots until basically the final boss. Which in some cases works really well. I would say in Beyond the Horizons it works pretty good, because obviously, there's teasers that Project Startaker isn't what it is. It isn't for the reason that it's saying it is, but and they're trying to piece together, and that's kind of obviously the big mystery. And obviously you don't want to reveal that big mystery too early on to obviously lose interest and whatnot. The most egregious example that I can think of that entire introducing too many story aspect subject and not really knowing what to do, Daybreak 2. That is I would argue, and I'm sure a lot of people do feel this. I'm not sure. Obviously, Rio, I know you kind of had similar thoughts about this, but especially with Act 3 of Daybreak 2, they tried to do so much in that act. It was almost like we kept going from one point to another without actually feeling like you resolved anything. And for the midpoint of the Calvert arc, wouldn't you want that to be the case and whatnot? Like, obviously, I get what they were trying to do, and obviously to kind of set up the whole thing, like with the Genesis and whatnot. But with that game in particular, it just felt like they were more plot MacGuffins more than anything. And then you just all of a sudden, they can just rewind time, but they can only do it a set number of times, and it just so happens that the set number of times is the exact number we're gonna need and whatnot. It's like, really. Yeah. Real, I don't know. I that didn't really click for me really well. So yeah.
Yeah, Act 3 of Daybreak 2 is really bad. Like, there's no two ways about it, because like Act 3, there's no stakes at all. It's the thing is with the whole Genesis time rewinding stuff. It when it initially happens, because that scene of the Crimson Grendel fucking killing Elaine and Van is this is serious, and then rewind everything. It's okay, that's cool, but Daybreak 2 Act 3 is the most egregious example, because you go and do one path, that path fails, then you rewind time, and then there's no stakes. As I say, there's no stakes in Act 3 at all. And the worst part is the reveal of who the Crimson Grendel was. Can we all agree that was it made no sense? Why is...
The writing was on the wall, and honestly, I didn't. I can understand why, but at the same time, I also didn't really care for it. I get it. You needed a figure face for it, but it's you basically took Dingo's absolute aura farming moment as he's staring down Dante's in the first game, as he's detonating a nuke to just wipe out an entire village, and now all of a sudden he's basically being kept alive in a shard body. It's okay, sure.
The problem, this might also extend to I'm always going to get a fucking first name wrong. The reporter chick, her.
Oh, Marielle. Yeah, Marielle.
Marielle. I was just going to say Ruffin last time. Yeah, Marielle. I hate that they've kind of reduced. I like Marielle, but it feels like she can't go any appearance in any of the game in Daybreak 2 or Beyond the Horizon without at least once mentioning how she's doing her work for Dingo. And I'm please don't reduce her to having to always rely on Dingo. It feels Dingo being he was kind of a semi-story important in Daybreak 1, and then they kind of tried to make him a bit more of have a bit more impact in the world, and it's just you didn't need to do that. There's one example of trying to force story importance on a character that I fucking hate, and I ranted about him so much.
Yeah. Yep.
We'll get into him later.
Yeah.
It is funny to me that the plot points or the stuff that is introduced in Daybreak 2, of all of them, and I'm not even complaining about this, of all of them, the most important appears to actually be Yorda and Ix.
Yeah, honestly, I would agree with that. Out of all the characters that were introduced in Daybreak 2, Yorda and Ix had the most immediate relevance, and not to mention, obviously, they came back and now they're going through their own separate arcs and whatnot, but it's every time they were on screen, it's okay, and something important will go down. And honestly, I genuinely enjoyed every time they were on screen. I really enjoyed their characters.
Really good.
But yeah, Rio, did you have anything else you wanted to add on the whole the Daybreak 2 tangent?
I mean, Daybreak 2, I'm always going to bring in the bigger real-world perspective on it, that Daybreak 2, in the form that it released, was not supposed to happen. It was because East 10 was not finished, and East 10 wasn't even finished when they said it was finished, as we saw with Proud Nordics. And so they had to rush Daybreak 2 along. And I think I kind of understand what they were going for ultimately with the connection then to Horizon, because Daybreak 2 is so much about the manipulation of time, and that is setting up the Septarian of time for Trails Beyond the Horizon.
Yep.
That's a big thing. But again, as Dad said, the execution of that was not good. And I'm gonna take an example of an RPG that deals with time that does it so much better. And I don't know if either of you have ever played this, because it is DS/3DS exclusive, but Radiant Historia.
I have heard of that. I have heard of it. I haven't seen gameplay of it, though. I have heard very good things about it, though.
It is very good, and especially the story, because it is manipulating time. And like with Daybreak 2, Radiant Historia, you can get some bad endings in there and have to travel back along the timeline. But you're given the control on that, and you're not necessarily given the exact answers of, okay, how are we supposed to avoid that awful fate that we just saw? And that's where I think Daybreak 2 misstepped. One, it took there was no player agency.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Over that. And two, the solution was almost always given in that specific one. And so
exactly.
And then because we didn't have the agency, the few times when we went back in a rewind and maybe we got a little further and then we ran into a different problem and lost there. Again, it felt like the game was drawing things out, because that wasn't us making a mistake. That wasn't us choosing there. That was the game railroading and saying, oops, you didn't consider this point. No, we couldn't possibly have considered that point, because how are we supposed to?
Exactly. Yep. No, and I think I had brought this up when I was streaming it too. One of the immediate examples that I could think of that at least I could compare how Daybreak 2 handled those rewinds and whatnot. If they had, honestly, I feel like maybe this is just bias talking, but maybe if they had handled like the rewinds and stuff almost in a very similar fashion to how Xenoblade 1 handled the visions and whatnot, like, because even when, like, looking back on that particular story aspect and that mechanic of Xenoblade 1, where Shulk having these visions of, you know, of like bad events or something or stuff that is potentially going to happen, but the biggest thing with that one is a lot of the times he doesn't know when, he doesn't know where, but he still has to figure out how if he wants to change everything. So in a way, it is kind of semi-railroading and whatnot, but it also adds to the mystery and whatnot. So, but I definitely agree. That was one of my biggest gripes with Daybreak 2 is, like, you know, you get one of these bad endings and then you rewind and then the solution is immediately in front of you. It's like, am I not being trusted to figure out the solution for myself? Like, there were so many opportunities to, like, turn some of these bad endings into almost miniature puzzles in a sense, like almost like retracing your steps and seeing, like, okay, like maybe there's like a different path we can take, another character we can talk to. I feel like it probably would have added a bit more personality, and as obviously the whole player lenience thing and whatnot, it definitely would have added to that, because as far, and even as a story perspective goes, where you said, you know, it was setting up the whole thing for manipulating time and whatnot. I had said during my stream of Beyond the Horizons that the biggest overarching theme for the Calvert arc, at least from the stuff that I had seen, was there was a very heavy emphasis on time. Obviously, it wasn't really so much present in the first game, but obviously the first game was setting up the Genesis, how they work, but there was still kind of that underlying theme because of because of Claude Epstein's final journal entry where he said, collect all 8 Genesis by the year 12OX, or else all we know will come to an end. So to me, that kind of initially set that stuff up. But then we get to Daybreak 2, where everything's going haywire. We're messing with time, and then getting into more of how the Genesis work. And then fast forward to Beyond the Horizons, where now it's essentially a countdown, where we are counting down to the launch of Project Startaker. And then all this information is coming to light where it's like, okay, the project isn't what it seems. There's something wrong. There's something very, very wrong here. And now we have the vestiges that are that are different people getting pulled from, like, displaced from time and whatnot. And then all of that too, and then come to find out, and the real big bad is the Septarian of Time, who is reverting the world to the start of the same 1,200-year cycle for unknown criteria, which obviously that criteria will hopefully be touched upon and expanded in the next game and whatnot. But then again, it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, but you know, there's still so many mysteries and so many questions that we have left unanswered that this next game really needs to bring home, so we don't have any loose ends. But then again, like you had said, Rio, and the reason we and the reason I had said it too, it's like this game is the Cold Steel 3 of the Calvert arc, so they've got this, so they are essentially going to have to go out with a bang for this next game. So speaking of this next game and whatnot, that was going to be the next thing I brought up. So do you guys have any theories as to like what could be touched upon, or how this next game could perform itself? Because I've actually thought about this a little bit. I'm not sure if you guys have, though.
I've considered it. I should probably try to start considering it in a positive way of thinking of all the things they could do. Because at the moment, and it's partly because of the history of Trails of Cold Steel 4 and Trails through Daybreak 2, I have concerns about how they can handle this. We talked about the Daybreak 2. I really don't want Horizon 2 to basically feel like a rewind of the previous events in Calvert. And I'm very concerned that it will.
Yeah, because there was that, obviously when Agnes had that massive moment and whatnot at the end of the game and whatnot, and because the thing that she had said was, executing short-term save and limited regression of Zemirian space-time, and then obviously, right at the end and whatnot, it showed like events like, getting reset, but the last thing you see before the game cuts to its final shot is Agnes in Van's first meeting, but now she's no longer there. So I definitely hear where you're coming from in regards to that, because I feel like, it's very, right now at very least, it seems very obvious what they're implying is going to happen, and I would be concerned too.
So what I think is most likely, and I'm actually okay with this, is going back to Cold Steel 4 and talking about the one section of that game that I think unequivocally worked. And it is that opening act of the party getting Reen back.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Like that is, in my opinion, the best part of that game. And I think that would be how I would want Horizon 2 to begin. This is our path to getting Agnes back. Or to getting to whatever point we need to be moving forward. And then once she's back in the fold in whatever form, then we focus on, okay, how are we stopping the rewind? How are we using this gift that was given to us by Agnes becoming the tuner to beat the Septarian of Time, to stop this cycle. And so I don't want them to linger too much on the recovery. So that we then feel like the final actual confrontation is rushed.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Because yeah, I will agree. Like, especially looking back on Cold Steel 4, like that whole like middle segment of the game did feel like it went on way longer than it needed to. Like, I definitely I get like the objective is to kind of like help Reen get an advantage in the rivalry, so he can essentially, you know, come out on top a bit easier. But at the same time, it's like, did we really need to spend all of that time getting back all of these key party members in these segments that definitely felt like they went on a bit longer than they needed to? Like the whole rivalries portion and the shrines were good, but it's like everything else just kind of felt really slow. And then when it eventually did come time for the final confrontation in the Imperial Fortress, it just felt like, okay, all of a sudden it's like, oh, now it's go time. Like there was almost no build up. So it's like, oh, okay, sure. But yeah, oh yeah, go ahead, Dan.
I was gonna say, for Cold Steel 4, and I think I've seen a lot of people talk about this as well, I think CS4's biggest problem in terms of storytelling is it leans way too heavily on the curse. And that's like, again, you can't, there's no like random people being, I mean, obviously random people being evil, but like people that were like already kind of shady, then getting like extra shady, and they're like, oh no, it's because of the curse. It's like, you guys just thought they're just shady because
they are.
Because they are.
I have also seen like because it has come up a little bit because, you know, more people are playing it and posting their experiences and whatnot like around social media. One of the things that I think also maybe some people will overlook is the fact that what the curse basically does is it amplifies those emotions that people keep buried deep down inside themselves, and kind of brings those emotions to force and like center forth, making you probably do things that you wouldn't otherwise do. And I think that's a great concept and whatnot, but I definitely do agree that, you know, there were parts where I definitely feel like they were a bit over reliant on that, where it's like, okay, it's like, you can't tell me like this guy probably wouldn't be doing almost the exact same thing regardless, but now it's like, oh, perfect. It's like, now I feel 100% confident about it.
Yeah, it's all, like, it's that, and it's like, I think for like Beyond the Horizons 2, I don't want like how like the Cold Steel 4 relied too much on the curse. I don't want Horizon 2 to rely on like the whole Agnes, as you guys said earlier, like the whole time stuff, like the like I don't know, Agnes like removing core, I guess like core memories of their journey, if that's what, or just removing her from like their journey, and like, wait, like the whole like they've had like their memories wiped or whatever, and then like, wait, this isn't exactly how it should be, you know, that kind of, I don't want them to rely on that, because otherwise, like, again, it just becomes a bit too boring.
Yeah.
Of a story in that way. I don't know. It's like, because again, like, this was like outside of like wherever Ouroboros, these Anguis do their meetings and stuff. Isn't this like the first time the Grandmasters we've seen her entire like model, right?
Yes.
Because like, yeah, because like when we saw her, when you see her in like the special sort of cutscene where like we first see Ray Grandpa and he makes the deal with Ouroboros, you don't see her face, but like obviously now you do. So I think I'm more interested to see what like in my mind, like, I guess what you've done is interesting and cool and whatnot. Like, also be interesting because like Yume was there when Agnes did the thing. So I wonder if they're gonna have like Yume be like the kind of angel on Agnes's shoulder, like kind of trying to help, like trying to like talk to her and stuff. Which I actually wouldn't mind because I actually really like.
If you remember, it was Yume and Mare.
Yeah, that's right, because because in the cutscene and whatnot, going in, like, Yume's eyes were bright like they were when Mare had took control of her body in the first game and whatnot. So yeah, it was both of them.
Yeah, so that would be interesting if they kind of do something like that, where like Agnes and like Yume are like just kind of like floating in whatever they're doing, and like they're having conversations throughout the game. That would be cool, because then you can truly get into like why Agnes is doing this, because from an in-game perspective, obviously this is kind of very like surface stuff, it does look like Agnes did this because Van rejected her.
in a sense, yeah. And I've also seen people point out that she is a massive hypocrite for doing this, because if you remember the end of the first game, she basically stopped Van from doing almost the exact same thing that she just did. So while it is yes, it is on a grander scale, I have to admit that yes, the irony is insane.
It really is. So like that'd be cool, because I definitely want to get more about her insight as to why she's actually doing this.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what else I was going to say, to be honest. That's gone. Yeah, no, that's gone.
Yeah, honestly, that's fair. I mean, like,
another thing is, this isn't story related, this is gameplay related. Please don't give us too many characters to play with in Beyond the Horizons.
Oh my god, yes.
It 100% is gonna happen.
I mean,
like, it will, but like, I don't want to build that many characters. Like, the amount that we had in Beyond the Horizons, I think is okay. Like, if you're gonna do that many characters, that's fine.
Yeah.
But please don't want that.
Yeah, I was gonna say Reverie, and with Reverie it was understandable why there were so many, but holy crap, that was probably one of my least favorite aspects, is trying to build all of these characters, because I wanted to do all of their challenge doors and whatnot, but a lot of these characters I just never used, because once I had some solid builds enough for the primary team members, I almost never used these secondary guys. So now it's like, okay, now I have to get all of their equipment caught up. I've got to forge all these quartzes for them and whatnot. So it's like, oh my god, this is getting to be a lot. This is getting me.
Yeah.
But
assemble the Trails Avengers at another time. It doesn't need to be now.
Yeah, I was gonna say we still got basically the end game and the quote unquote end game that they have teased and whatnot, which was another thing I did want to touch on. But so going into what I am thinking is probably going to happen for this next game and whatnot. I had initially thought that they probably will take at least a similar approach to Cold Steel 4. And obviously divided up into acts and whatnot, like they have done for the recent games and all that. I think a big part of it is definitely going to be if Agnes did basically stop the time reversion, basically like right at the start of the events, Daybreak 1. I'm hoping that there's gonna be like, it's gonna be more like just, like going forward and seeing how like events would change, like if she's not there and holding everything together. But the big thing that I thought about when I was thinking about this was the last thing that she said before the to be continued, which was someday, sometime, it will all come back for you. So initially, I was thinking that she was referring to the Septarian of Time and where they're going to it's going to come back and try and finish the job. But now I'm starting to think that maybe she was referring to their memories, where in a sense that maybe they'll find a way to recall everything that they had experienced up to that point, and then use that information to try and figure out a way to stop the Septarian of Time for good. And the other thing to kind of take into consideration with that is Reen also has unfinished business at the end of Beyond the Horizons, because right before the reset happens, Yun Kafai tells him to settle accounts with the Black God and find the Tachi within. So we absolutely have not seen all of Reen's story arc here in Calvert and whatnot. So obviously, obviously the big thing with that is he is 100% going to have a one-on-one fateful duel with Shizuna. That is that is absolutely going to be the thing that happens for that. Whether or not that is Reen's penultimate moment, I have no idea. But
I think it should be.
I could definitely see it being the case. However, there is one other aspect about this next game that I really hope ends up being the case, and it's just something that I noticed. In Beyond the Horizons, they went through all the trouble to make this really, like, basically make this, like, an evolved version of the Grendel combats with the soul dots. Like, that fight at the end of Reen, at the end of Reen's first route, where him and Crow were fighting against the assault frames and then ultimately sparring with Amelia, I loved those fights. It was fun. It was really cool to see how the mech combat evolved, like, with the more integration of real-time stuff, and that. But I was so disappointed that and then obviously the fight with Amelia versus the Septarians Guardians in space and the finale were the only two instances of that combat being used. And I really hope, really hope that we get more of that in this next game. I don't know how, but there's one particular outlet that I can absolutely see happening. If time did end up getting reverted, then that means Amelia survived the crash. And that means they have the potential to rebuild the Excalibur. I am calling it right now. I want to see Reen, Crow, and Amelia fight that hollow Zoa Gilstein in space. Like, that needs to be a thing. That needs to be a thing. And especially since, it's very heavily implied that is basically like acting as like the final layer of protection for the Septarian of Time. So my theory, and this is like, maybe this is more toward the end and whatnot, my working theory is that the quote unquote finale endgame of this next game is going to be everybody going to space. Reen, Crow, and Amelia are going to fight this hollow Zoa Gilstein. They're going to clear the path, and then the entire party is going to go inside of Leg Yarn's chest and find a way to destroy it from within. Because I forget who it was that had mentioned it. I think it was Kincaid that had brought this up. Where he said the only thing capable of destroying Leg Yarn's chest is a sword by the name of Levitain, which obviously, goes into why Graham Hart named Project Startaker Project Levitain and all that. But I don't find it, and obviously, it's because I looked into it. This entire thing is a direct reference to Norse mythology and whatnot, because the only thing of destroying Leg Yarn is Blade of Levitain. So, honestly, I don't think it's a coincidence that, mankind not being able to put God to the sword, as Kincaid had said during the final boss, ended the way it did. So, there's another. Oh yeah, you're good, man. You're good. So there's another Levitain out there is the thing, and I'm starting to think that it might honestly have something to do with the Grendel. There's still a lot of, at least to me, there's still a lot of mystery surrounding the Grendel in of itself. And at this point in the series, we've seen 3 different versions of that, because we have Van's Grendel, we had the Grendel Zolgun Daybreak 2, and now Grendel Shaddai in Beyond the Horizons. So, I don't know, maybe that's just me looking into things a little bit too deeply, but I have a feeling that the Grendel is going to play a very significant role in resolving these events that maybe we just haven't been able to see as of this point.
Yeah, it makes sense for the Grendel to play some role. I would say Van's Demon is also likely to play a significant role in this. Otherwise, that was set up with 0 payoff.
Honestly, I actually didn't even think about that until right now. Yeah, because that has been getting brought back. It's been getting brought up like again as of late and whatnot, and it got brought up quite a bit in Beyond the Horizons as well. So it's like, okay, there's a reason they're bringing this back up now. Like, there's got to be some right? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's the case. I don't know.
Yeah. So I've been sitting here thinking over what y'all are saying, and there's a couple things that have kind of solidified in my mind.
Okay.
On this. The first is that I am pretty sure that the way that memories of Agnes are going to come back are through Yume and Mare.
Oh, yep. I could 100% see that being the case. Actually, I absolutely can see that being the case because now I'm thinking back to Yume's bonding events in Beyond the Horizon, where one of them was her getting a picture book for Agnes's birthday to fill with memories of all their time together. So honestly, yeah, now that you say that and I'm remembering that, I'm like, oh, that's 100% going to be how this happens, isn't it?
And I could see that being very sweet to know that. The other thing is more of a question that I'm trying to think through in my mind. So, in the events of Trails Beyond the Horizon, Reen, Kevin, and Van and the crews have to fight the Vestiges. They have to fight the government at different times, various different groups.
Yeah.
But a lot of those groups, presumably now, would either be on the same side as Van's crew, or at the very least not opposing them. But it would feel weird if there weren't any human antagonists. So who's still going to be standing against the parties?
You're right. Yeah, that's actually, yeah, I mean, that is a very interesting thing to think about. Yeah, because obviously, you know, all of these games going forward and whatnot, you know, like at least, you know, all of these games like in the past and whatnot have always had like some central antagonistic force that, you know, is, you know, obviously are made up of humans and whatnot. But with this next game, we don't really have that, is the thing. Like, we have, like, we know for a fact the true enemy is the Septarian of Time, but that is a massive construct that is in space. So that is a very good point to bring up. So, like, who is going to act as this central antagonistic force? And immediately, one thing that comes to mind is maybe having the Vestiges play some sort of role in that regard, but they would have to do it in a way where it wouldn't feel like super weird or super forced. Because the thing is like, we still do, well, okay, there's one vestige where we got a glimpse of their identity, but we don't know. And that was the Masked Soldier. We know that Melchior got brought back. We know Giacomo is back. Obviously they brought the Tyrant back, the original Tyrant. And then the other two, and then obviously Alexander and Viola were basically suicide squatted into working for Marduk, which I thought that was fucking insane, by the way. Like, what a freaking out of left field thing to see it like right before the final boss. Like, okay, you two are here. Why? You have bomb. Oh my God, you're just suicide. So it's literally just Suicide Squad. Got it. But then Olympia and Ariok. Yeah, Olympia and Ariok were also, they appeared at the end of Reen's route as two more vestiges. So it's like, what stake do these guys have? And like, oh, then again, Reen did put two and two together in that thing where Hamilton called the vestiges and they're acting kind of like, you know, and they were appearing as a response to, and almost like as a response to the potential of the Septarian Time being destroyed and whatnot. But we can't forget the final three vestiges that showed up at the end of Kevin's route, and it's very, very easy to tell who they are. And initially I'm just like, okay, wait, who are these guys? And then the Masked Swordswoman showed up, and I saw the design of the sword. I'm like, I know exactly who you three are. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. But their involvement was very, very minimum. Like, they only showed up at the end of Kevin's route, and then we didn't fight them. They barely had any screen time. So I would hope that Beyond the Horizons would kind of amplify that a little bit. Actually, I just thought of something, another reason they could potentially get their memories back. So if time did get rewound and whatnot, what if the vestiges stick around? What if they find a way to stick around and they actually go out of their way to antagonize Arkwright Solutions and and any other parties that potentially get involved, and through combat with them, basically, you know, through combat with beings that basically shouldn't exist. Maybe that's how their memories kind of start coming back, and then obviously maybe we have Mare and Yume kind of being the solidifying factor to be like, yeah, like we've done this before. This isn't right. This is how everything is supposed to go. I don't know. I feel like the Vestiges. It's a cool concept. But I feel like they didn't really do a whole lot in Beyond the Horizons, other than, you know, just be like, hey, look at this replica Genesis I have. All right, now watch me screw with reality again. It's like, okay, that's cool, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how you found it. Yeah.
Certainly, I think the Vestiges have to have a bigger role in Beyond the Horizon, and I could understand it being antagonistic, but also the Vestiges have clearly been working with Hamilton. Hamilton achieved her plan here.
Right.
Her plan was to have Anya's reset time there. So
yeah.
And presumably that was done so that they could have more time to figure out how to stop the Septarian of Time and do that, right? That is the goal. What group actually wants the Septarian of Time to win here?
Yeah, and that's the other big thing too.
So that's the thing as well with Enki mentioned the Roy's agreement with Ouroboros. Ouroboros, I'm certain the Grandmaster has the plan to deal with it if that happens, but I don't feel like the Eternal Recurrence plan is just let the world eternally recur.
Oh no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. There's absolutely no way that's, you know, the end game and whatnot for Ouroboros and whatnot. So
it comes back to, so in order for there to be human antagonists, clearly I would say the solution that Arkwright Solutions comes up with for this has to be untenable to one of these groups.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I don't know which group it is. It could be Roy Gramhart and the government if the plan is we have to do like a permanent sacrifice of Anya's to take it out. I don't know what exactly the plan would be that would cause Hamilton and the Vestiges to be against it, but it's hard to say. And again, you talked about if we're going all the way back to the start. If we go all the way back to the start, some of these Vestiges would still be alive in their original form. Like Giacomo, like Melchior, like those. Do we have doubles of them running around now? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, but then again, there was that comment Hamilton had made where after Amelia crashed and, you know, obviously assumed the form that resembled the statue that Kevin and Thomas had recovered in that memory, which I thought was a really, really insane attention to detail and whatnot. But then again, I think that was the reason why those memories in the Grim Garden were there, to just kind of give some context clues and background on some missing characters and some missing characters and whatnot. And, you know, but the fact that, you know, she had made the comment, just like, this and myriad artifacts are evidence that this current loop has already failed, and that Zemiria's space-time continuum is beginning to fluctuate. So all of this happening basically right before the grand reset and whatnot, it kind of begs the question, like, if the Vestiges are going to play that major role and basically defy the laws of reality like they've been doing, it's like, what effects is that going to have? Because we're going to, like, the way that this arc is going is like very, very heavy sci-fi stuff, and, like, you know, honestly, kind of, it feels like a more like Interstellar approach where, like, you know, they're basically testing the limits of what they can do, like, with the reality and the world that they've established, which it's going to be interesting to see, like, what they come up with. But at the same time, it's like you said, I really, really hope they don't repeat the same mistakes that they did in Cold Steel 4 and Daybreak 2. But then again, another thing that I think is interesting to consider. This is as far as I'm aware, this is the longest gap between games in the series as of this point, because Beyond the Horizons came out in Japan in 2024. We're now in 2026 with nothing. We have the only thing that we know is that apparently the plot has been finished and they have started development. So there's no way we're seeing this game until 2027 at the absolute earliest.
So for context, there have been 2 gaps previously in the series that would match this gap.
There have been. Okay.
If it would. Those gaps being from Trails in the Sky the Third to Trails from Zero.
Oh, okay.
And from Trails of Cold Steel 2 to Trails of Cold Steel 3.
Oh, I did not know there was that big of a gap. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh,
again, that's counting on 2027.
Yeah, right. That is very true.
Horizon 2, but I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if, but then again, I have a feeling that's why Sky's second chapter remake is releasing this year as more of like, well, then again, it also kind of makes sense as to why first and second chapter Sky remakes have released last year and this year respectively, to kind of bide that time and like in between development. But also I feel like it's maybe we're overlooking the significance, and maybe we're trying to like get more people to experience that story of Liberl and whatnot. Because another thing, and this is something that I wanted to touch on too, is that press release that happened a few weeks ago where Falcom had laid the groundwork for the future of the series, and that they had wanted to announce the final game in the series during their 50th anniversary and whatnot, which is slated to be 2032, if I remember correctly.
31.
Okay. So with that being said, that's 5. So yeah, that we basically have their end game in mind. They want to have that final game announced by 2031 and then potentially out by maybe 2032 at the absolute earliest. So we are nearing the end of this series, but where to go from here, I guess, would really all depend on what happens with Beyond the Horizons 2, which is why I've been thinking, I guess, part of the reason why I wanted to have this little segment and talking about what could potentially happen with this next game and whatnot, because I feel like what happens with this next game is going to be so crucial to how the series ends. Like they're like you said, they're gonna have to stick the landing with this. And also, Anki brought up a good point too, seeing in chat. So he had mentioned, what if the vestiges, since they were pulled from other times, may believe that they would be sent back with their job, quote unquote, done, and instead go AWOL? Which for some of them, I could 100% see that being the case. Specifically Melchior, Ariok, and potentially Olympia. I could 100% seeing those 3 being like potentially loose cannons because they were Armada executives in the first game. So if anyone
Tyrant and Giacomo, I would add to that list.
Yeah, those 2. Yeah, for sure. So those handful I could 100% see being outliers if they did go that route where, they would go potentially AWOL and whatnot. So.
Oh, by the way, who do you think the soldier is?
Oh, the soldier? So from the context clues that I have seen, and with especially how she fights and whatnot, obviously military training and whatnot. And then there was that comment that Aaron had made when they fought her underneath the hospital, where he had said those flames that she could control those flames like Fairy's brother does. And Fairy having such a guttural reaction to how she fights and her mannerisms, it was what initially led me to with the theory of who the vestiges were before their identities were revealed. I think that the masked soldier might be an alternate version of Fairy from a different timeline.
I would agree.
So And my initial theory for the vestiges is that they were all different versions of Arkwright Solutions from a potentially different timeline, because initially
I would actually like that, by the way.
Yeah, because initially with the Tyrant's mannerisms and whatnot, with how Aaron had reacted to him and whatnot, I had almost thought wait a minute, like Aaron and Fairy having these reactions to these characters, it's almost like they're looking in a mirror. And for Aaron, it kind of made sense because, obviously his whole arc in Daybreak 1 and, basically being like a descendant of the Tyrant and whatnot in that regard, it made sense. But for Fairy, we never learned that Vestige's true identity. We only got Elaine, she was only able to chip off a part of the mask during the confrontation in Anchorville. So in that regard, I don't know. I still feel like that probably is the most realistic, outcome for the Masked Soldier. But I don't know. They could still surprise us. They could still surprise us. But how they do it, I don't know.
If I'm remembering rightly, for the Vestiges, the only ones we don't officially know the identities of are the soldier, the three that turned up to help Hamilton. Because the martial artist was the Tyrant, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yes. And then the instigator was Giacomo, which was a little bit of a letdown for me, but whatever, it's fine.
Yeah.
Am I missing one? There was Melchior as well, but
I think those.
I don't think they officially revealed that Arioka and Olympia were there.
They didn't.
It's
very obvious.
Yeah.
Even Crow had mentioned, looking at them during that moment, he's like, one of them is supposed to be dead, obviously referring to Arioka.
Yeah.
So we have the masked apostle, which is Melchior.
Yep.
We have the masked martial artist, which is the Tyrant. We have the masked soldier,
which we don't know.
Yep, we don't know.
The masked instigator,
which was Giacomo.
Arioka, Olympia, masked swordswoman, masked swordsman, masked caster.
Yep. Yeah, and
those three are like the masked swordswoman has to be Sheena, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very easy to especially with all of that and whatnot. Like I had said, it's very easy to tell who those three are, and especially the masked swordswoman even called Hamilton by her first name, Latoya. So, and we got the reveal that Hamilton did know Sheena in her final days, so she probably would also at least maybe have some knowledge of Aramis and Auguste as well. So yeah.
Also, it's kind of cool that with the Vestiges that it's Sheena, Augustus, and Aramis, and not the other one that was also there, because
No,
because of what happened.
He doesn't deserve
to be
Yeah. It's just something dumb like that. Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah. So, next point that I had, actually this kind of plays into what we were just talking about and whatnot. Obviously, we got to see a lot more of certain characters with Beyond the Horizons and whatnot, and we got some new faces as well. Were there some characters that in this particular game that you guys really loved to see more of, or maybe some that you maybe wished we didn't see so much of?
Can I go first with the one I didn't want to see more of?
Yes.
Right, here we go. It's rant time. Custom L Fire.
Oh, yeah.
Right, I'm coming for you. Right. Okay, this motherfucker. Farrah's been waiting for me to do this.
Yes, I really have.
Okay, from a character standpoint, Kasim actually isn't that bad. I kind of like him. I actually, as a character, I like him. For what he represents, and what everyone else talks about him and how much they glaze him, absolutely not.
What do you mean what he represents? He's Mirabelle's boyfriend, right? That's all it is. I've got no problem with that. That's fine. I actually kind of like it. Also, the fact that Mirabelle just becomes Southern in this game
that's great. I love that. It's so adorable.
It's so adorable. Characters I want to see more of in Beyond the Horizons 2, Southern Mirabelle.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
But Customers like the concept of, what really annoyed me is like, he's the strongest warrior of all time. Absolutely fucking not. When like you've got Cassius, you've got Aurelia, you've got McBurn, you have Louvet, you have so many others. Right? If they had said he's the strongest Jaeger of all time, okay, or like, because he's not currently a Jaeger.
Even still, Sigmund is still around.
It's not even just Sigmund. It's Sigmund. I don't know he's dead, but like there's Sigmund and Rutger as well, because like Rutger was an awakener. Like, so there's that. It's like, but it's like because whenever they see him, someone always has to say, Kasim is the strongest warrior who's ever lived. Shut the fuck up, please. Because at this point, you're ruining his character. Because I cannot take him seriously. Because whenever we fought him, he's gotten his ass beat. And the worst thing Kasim's ever done is the scene in Daybreak 2, where like it's the one where Ferry gets corrupted, right?
Yes. Oh my god, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you.
The fact that we go through that entire thing, and he's like, "Yeah, I knew I was. It's like I know I'm corrupted, and like just go ahead." And it's just like, what? Excuse you? Like you can just know that, and like you didn't tell Ferry, and like you're so much of an asshole.
Yeah.
That you don't tell Ferry that, like, by the way, you're being manipulated, and she's gonna listen to you, and like, you're just a shit brother. You're just a really bad person, cousin.
Well, that and the way that they phrase it too is just like, you know, like I can understand, like, you know, from a certain point of view where he's like, I just went along with it because I wasn't sure if, you know, the Garden Master was gonna just kill Ferry if I didn't go along with it and whatnot. But it's like, okay, but at that point, if you think that highly of yourself, you can still break out of this corruption at any point. At that point, just freaking 1v1 him. If you're that good at your job, then just kick his ass. Like,
also contrast that with how Leon reacts to Solis.
I guess, that too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's another thing that, like, that kind of that was the beginning of me turning on Qasim was like before the team, the Eastern Daybreak one. It's before the team storms Pandemonium.
Yeah, and we're thinking of the same one. It's just beam.
When Qasim is just charging up his weapon, like that's all he's doing, and it's like, and someone, I think it was Van, I think it was Van, who's like sees him doing this, and he goes, "Oh, this is why he's the strongest warrior ever." I'm like, bro, he's
charging a gun that's being put into freaking overdrive. This has nothing to do with his combat prowess. Sure, you probably need like an insane amount of fortitude and strength to like hold it in place and whatnot, but that's all you need. 90% of the work being done is by the freaking weapon.
I reckon Aurelia could have done that with one hand.
Yeah, like, and even Anki had said, I'd like to see Qasim try to beat Viscount Arcade at his peak. Yeah, no, you're losing that fight.
Qasim isn't beating Viscount Arcade after Viscount Arcade lost one arm. Like.
No. I would argue even not at his peak, Viscount Arcade would frickin' school his ass.
Yeah, but like, more characters I'd like to see. Okay, Qasim ran Ogre because I got most of it out of the function. Unless anyone else wants to rant about it, that's fine. But like, it's like another character I want to see more of in Beyond the Horizons 2 is Chloe, Judith's mum. Because I actually really like her because what you can do is, again, be a bit cliche and whatnot. Because I don't know if you saw it earlier, but I put that like. When you guys were talking about like the human antagonists that you could have, I put that you could possibly also have Renee and like the people that were with Agnes before she did the reset, like Hamilton, those vestiges, like Renee and like Dominique and stuff. You can have them as antagonists as well. Because especially Renee, because you can't just give him like the the Grendel form and then like not do anything with it.
Oh yeah,
like antagonistic.
You know, honestly, you saying that, yeah, I could 100% see Renee being a central figure, especially with the Grendel Shaddai for the next game and whatnot. I could very well see him being like an end of act boss because one other thing that I thought was really interesting, and this is kind of going off on a bit of a tangent, is with the challenge battle aspect in the Grim Garden, one of those fights in that challenge battle was against the Grendel Shin, which was Van's final Grendel form when he fought Dante's at the end of the first game. I'm like, this feels kind of weird to be in here, especially with the whole, like, only having one action and not like multi-actions like all the other Grendel fights have had. So I feel like there was maybe an underlying reason to why that's there, because Van has never had to use that form again. The only time we ever saw that form outside of Daybreak 1 was in a bonding event with Shizuna in Daybreak 2, where she basically forced it out of him as they were sparring. Like, the fact that Van hasn't used that form at all yet, and it's supposed to be like the powered up form for the Grendel, nah, like we've gotta see that at some point for the next game.
Oh yeah.
So maybe Renee will be the one to finally draw that out of him and basically act as like a permanent power up. Like, so I could 100% see that being the case.
I can see also as like because go back to like Chloe and Judith. You can have those two speak some sense, or maybe in some other case slap some sense into Dominique, because Dominique, I love Dominique. She's great. you can't not love Dominique Lannister.
Yeah.
All that stuff. Who's another one I want to see more? Is there anyone else I want to see more of? I want to see more of Yorda, because Yorda's kind of she's semi a member of Arkwright Solutions, so I can see we're definitely going to get more of like Ix and Yorda. Oh, speaking of we haven't seen them yet, but I sincerely hope that they are in Horizon 2, the first Anguis, because we have no idea who it is. I think the only thing we know about them is it's a guy. I think that's it.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, then again, I think
it's I just want to know, like, pretty much, like, it's the first, as I say, the first Anguis. We don't know, or we also don't know if she has been replaced yet. We don't know if there is a replacement for Aryan Road, because Aryan Road was the 7th Anguis. I think we also don't know who the 5th Anguis is either. So at least I want to know who the Anguises, the ones that we don't know, are. Because if Ouroboros are going to do something because 100% they have to do something in this game, in Horizon 2, I want to see all of the Anguises, which would mean we get to see Vida again, and which would be cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I need to see all of the Anguises doing something.
That is very true. Yeah, because I mean, realistically, the only Anguises we've seen so far for the Calvert arc are obviously Novartis, but then Harwood, who has basically been the central figure for Ouroboros for this arc and whatnot.
Is Harwood 5 or is he 4?
I think Harwood is the 4th?
I think he's 4. I think he's 4.
Harwood is... So, Vita's 2, Mariabelle is 3, Harwood is 4, we don't know 5, and Novartis is 6.
Okay,
and
so yeah.
7 was already.
Yeah, 7 wrote,
So you don't know the 5, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Honestly, though, I also wouldn't be surprised if maybe they saved those 2 Anguises for whatever the final part of this story is going to be.
That's the case. I feel like it would be a little weird to introduce them in the final game of the arc.
Yeah. especially, you know, like introducing, I feel like introducing new characters in the final chapter of an arc is kind of a weird play.
Here's what I think could happen so that there's more Ouroboros presence without introducing 1 or 5.
Okay.
The Grandmaster actually gets involved.
Ooh.
Introduced
yes.
in person last game.
Mm-hmm.
Expanded role for Beyond the Horizon 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the cleanest, easiest way.
Yeah, because I mean, I did find it kind of weird why she, like, if you look at the game's like title screen splash art, like for like, you know, the title card and whatnot, like she's standing back to back with Nina. Obviously, you know, there's symbolism and whatnot, but I felt it kind of strange that, you know, they put her there and yet there's only one scene of her and it's completely missable is the thing. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I really hope the Grandmaster does have at least a bit more direct involvement. I mean, hell, maybe she is how the party gets to space to destroy the Septarian of Time once and for all. Who knows? I think that would be the most logistical thing, but maybe there's some other things that she can do.
Could be there. I also think that, as Enki talked about earlier, the truce with with Gramhart is done.
Yeah.
And I feel like the Grandmaster isn't necessarily gonna let that sit.
Yeah.
I think she played it off, but I don't think she was happy with the president of Calvert for doing what he did.
Yeah, I mean, well, then again, I mean, him getting Marduk to hack the celestial globe to get a meeting with her to say, hey, you guys, I will not interfere with you guys if you do not interfere with the development of Project Startaker while this is going on. And it made sense why he did that, because he was gung-ho about doing this. But what was it all for? Like we saw, it didn't exactly go out the way he wanted to. So, yeah.
Gramhart's character in Horizon 2 is going to be very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Because we were talking about Cold Steel 4 earlier. I wonder if he's going to have like a similar sort of thing to how Eustace was acting when they're all in like the witch village, where he's got like you know where he's holding William's hat.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's going to be like that, like,
or he's going to be in like deep mourning or something. But then again, that's assuming he even still has his memories of what happens, like, you know. True. But so it'll, yeah, like I said, it'll be very interesting to see like how that gets handled and whatnot. But yeah, but I mean, if they do go the route where, you know, everyone is recovering their memories, and then everybody slowly starts getting added back to the fold and whatnot. If Gramhart is one of those parties and he gets his memories back and then sees what happened, that is going to be a gut-wrenching scene if that ends up happening.
It will be.
Because you think about it, the whole reason he did this was so Agnes didn't have to follow the same path that her grandmother and mother did. So and that was another thing too. That implies that this has happened before. That Agnes's grandmother and mother went down this exact same path to essentially either buy enough time or do something to limit the effects of the Grand Reset. And when he finally realized that Agnes was probably going to have to do that, is like, no, this cannot happen. So
it's also it's interesting because sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, you're good. You're
good. Where it's like, if you notice, like the age for them to do the Grand Reset got younger and younger, so it must not have delayed it by too much.
Exactly. Well, and then there was the other tidbit of information. Yeah, she was just going to turn 18, I believe. Or 17, or it was 17 or 18, but yeah, it was right before her birthday and whatnot, which is so significant. I guess it was significant enough. But I mean, then again, I don't even. Oh shoot! I don't know. Shoot! I kind of lost it. I mean, either way though. But yeah, for sure. I mean, it'll be interesting to see like what like how characters like we react and whatnot, like you had said with Roy and whatnot. So yeah. Rio, how about you? Was there any characters that you really liked and didn't like for this game?
I liked or didn't like. Generally, I like the cast. Even for the. I agree with pretty much any of the points that have been brought up with cast members, especially the ones that just turn into this is their one thing.
Yeah.
Like Dad said for Marielle and Kasim, that's a concern to me, is whenever it is stuck to one. Yeah,
stuck to one trope
thing.
and whatnot without, not really having much
I'm
deviation.
always going to be on this drum. I want to see more Elaine. I want to see more Elaine and Van specifically.
Absolutely.
I want them to be moving forward. I have my concerns because of... So here's the thing with Agnes. She is incredibly popular in Japan.
Oh.
And that's always going to be a really important factor when it comes to how they're writing the games and stories and all that. And I get some of the feelings that I do around other pairings that they're testing the waters.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was a lot of the Tita Agate stuff in Cold Steel. Was they're testing the waters.
Yep.
And I think that was a lot of this game was testing the waters on making that a pairing, and I really don't want to see that. And also, regardless of the romance side of things, Elaine deserves to be in the spotlight for more than just her
absolutely.
bond with Van.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, for me, honestly, it is insane for me in particular how far Elaine has shot up in terms of my favorite character of the Calvert arc. Like initially in Daybreak 1, where she was more of like a side character that was occasionally occasionally a party member. I was like, okay, she's pretty cool. And then she started taking more of a central role and like actually being more directly involved in Daybreak 2. And I was like, okay, I really like you. You're really great. And then Horizons just solidified it. Like it almost felt like she was like a proper full-time party member. I was like, this is great. Like more Elaine, like, yeah. So I'm right there with you. More Elaine, absolutely. Yeah. Anybody else?
Just honestly, pretty much everyone else just appears generally in there. I don't feel like there's an important character in the Calvert cast who didn't appear, and I can't think of a character from another arc that I would want them to add for this game. Again, that's okay. I can think of ones that it would be great if they were there, but I kind of don't want them to just be shoved into the final game of the arc. So Reese is one of those. Annalise is one of those. It would be great if they appeared there, but I think that opportunity was with Horizon 1.
Yeah,
like they needed to be in there for that.
For sure.
And 2 is too late.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. At one point, on one hand, yes, I could potentially see them adding in like more characters from previous arcs to maybe kind of solidify that, kind of like how Cold Steel 4 had done that. Like, they brought in Joshua and Estelle. They brought in like the full SSS and whatnot. But then again, this was the culmination of the entire Western Zemuria arc and whatnot. So it made sense to have everyone involved. Here, though, it's like...
Except Kevin.
Yeah, except Kevin. But then again, we don't talk about that. I mean, but honestly, Kevin getting his time to shine now. I'll take it. Like, better late than never. Better late than never. But yeah, I could potentially see them bringing back like some other protagonists and whatnot. But the only ones that would immediately make sense are Joshua and Estelle, because Kevin and, more importantly, Ren are at the center point of what's going on in Calvard, and maybe some of Class 7 as well. But realistically, if they're bringing back any, and I mean any, member of old Class 7 specifically, it has to be Gaius. It has to be Gaius.
Yes.
Like, bro, like, genuinely, I need to, well, we got a glimpse of his reunion with Bearguard at the end of Daybreak 2 and whatnot, but it's like, I need Gaius to interact with Bearguard officially, as well as Celise and Leon. Like, and I guess Kevin too, and obviously Kevin. Like, that was one of my favorite teams to run in the Grim Garden, was the full Dominion team with Bearguard, Kevin, Celise, and Leon. Like, come on, get Gaius in on the mix. Like, we hardly really got to see much of his Dominion arc, because it was revealed at the end of Cold Steel 3, and then obviously he was present for 4 and Reverie, but it felt like there wasn't really much to do there, whereas now, like, you know, I feel like it's like, especially with the Eschaton, Nina the Eschaton Saint being involved, like, what better time to bring in the newest Dominion for a proper like church mission than right now.
Yeah.
But other than that,
so
Oh yeah, go ahead, Rio. Go ahead.
I did think of one other character that I want to see more of, because I want to figure out what they want to do with this character moving forward, and that's Lapis.
Oh, that is true.
I don't think they have an idea of what they want to do with Lapis yet.
Yeah.
And I feel like that also kind of brought down the Kevin section, is that I think they had an idea for Kevin. They hadn't had ideas for how Swin and Nadia were going to get tested in there. And I see parallels in there, is that Kevin made a promise and is now taking a step back away from that promise, while also trying to maintain Swin and Nadia their own promise. And then Rufus and Lapis are there. Yeah. And that's... I want to see them have something. Yeah. Something additional in there.
Indeed.
Rather than just being around. Because I feel like there's more that can be done. I don't mind it as much of, like, Bro and Toa and Fee being around, because I feel like their arcs are pretty well established and good now. They don't need more. But Lapis, particularly because her only game prior to this was Reverie. Yeah. And Daybreak 2 technically, but not really.
It wasn't really her until like the end of the game.
Yeah. So what is her next step? And how does she really feel about the mission that she's gone on with Kevin?
Yep. All of that. Yep. I definitely agree with you there. And I mean, I feel like they're at least kind of maybe trying to set some stuff up with that, because I feel like it wasn't a coincidence that Hamilton chose Lapis to be the one to see Cray in its past, or another timeline of it and whatnot. I have a feeling there was more to that than meets the eye. At least that's what I would like to think, but I don't really know. It would be very, very nice to see her step into a bigger role for this next game. Maybe not to the same scale as her role in Reverie, because I mean, let's be real. That Reverie was her story. It was if I was to pick two main characters for Reverie, it's Rufus and Lapis. That was their game. And I would argue Swin and Nadia too, because that was their introduction game and whatnot. Obviously, they played a big role in Rufus's arc and all that. But if I had to pick two central characters to that game, it would be 100% Rufus and Lapis. So, it would be very nice to see them kind of like, reignite some of that protagonist fire that they had in Reverie for this next game. So for sure. But yeah, I think as far as for me, I mean, I'm in a very similar boat to you, Rio, where like there wasn't really everyone's pretty established as of this point. So it'll be very interesting to see like where these individual like character moments go for this next game and whatnot. And then obviously like, and I 100% agree with the Qasim hate. I will never not call him Zamirio's biggest fraud. He will never not escape that. But I mean, as far as one character that I am very, very interested to see what actually two characters that I'm very interested to see what becomes of them for the next game is Yorda and Ix. So we know Ix is working with the Vestiges. So he's on this whole thing, and then obviously Yorda's working with Arkwright Solutions now. If they go the route that I had previously talked about, where the Vestiges stick around and serve as those anchor points to help the main characters like regain their memories if they've lost any and figure out a path forward, what does that mean for Ix? Does he get a pass because he's working with them? And if that's the case, then what's going to happen with Yorda? Like, does she still stay on that arc, or does she finally cave and work with Ix? I mean, I highly doubt that's going to be the case and all, but it'll be very interesting to see how their story potentially concludes with this next game and whatnot, because Yorda went through one hell of an arc in Beyond the Horizons, and of all the characters to really kind of get that, like have some of those moments, I was not expecting her to be that one. Like, I really came to like Yorda as a character. Like, obviously, she's got that whole like moody teenage girl vibe and whatnot, but when she freaking shines, holy hell does she shine. That, like, the most prime example is at the end of the section of Durkee Memorial Park, where she basically where she grabs Ix with the shadow, they blip in and out of reality, and she basically is like in this immense pain, but it's just like, you need to figure out where they went. I can only hold this for so long. It's like, you basically just sacrificed an extent of your entire being to track down your brother despite that. Like, wow, that is fucking insane.
I think for Yorda and Ix's story, I feel like the most logical place you can go is Ix stays with Ouroboros, and like Yorda either joins Arkwright Solutions as like a permanent member, or she kind of like goes off and does her own thing. Like, Yorda's not going to be a bracer. I can't see it doing that at all.
No.
But like, maybe similar to, again, like as I say, she either joins Arkwright Solutions, or she kind of does what Crow does, where she just freelancer.
Freelancer.
Like a freelancer. Like,
I think she needs the Van connection in there. I don't think she's ready to go off on her own.
Maybe not. Maybe not just yet.
I could see that for a lot of the other Arkwright Solution characters. Like Aaron, Ferry, absolutely they could go off on their own. Also, don't tell Shiza that Yorda got in the club before Shiza.
Obviously.
Yeah. Well, Ferry, like, once it's all done, Ferry will probably just go back. Ferry will probably just go back to her core. Aaron will probably go back to the Eastern Quarter. I mean, Judith's like not rich. She's a part-time member. She just goes straight back to acting.
Yeah, acting and the Grim Cat shenanigans.
Yeah, Catra will just go back to being a student. Bearguard will just go off and do Bearguard things. He'll just do what he wants.
Yeah.
He's an old man. Let him do what he wants.
Yeah. Realistically, I think the only one that I could potentially see sticking around is Rosette, but that's all on the count of like what happens with Marduk in the next game. Because if anything, because I think
antitrust lawsuit. They're gonna break it all apart.
Yeah, apparently, I could probably see that happening. Yeah.
Also,
yeah.
Marduk is weird for me because, like, on the one hand, they have some good characters with like Mirabelle and Rosette. Thorndike he's okay.
Yeah.
And Carson.
Yeah.
Thorndike
but like
plays
Marduk
his
as a whole,
role.
Yeah, very much so.
Marduk as a whole, I don't really know how to feel about, because it's like, I get that you're like a private like security company and stuff, but like, how, I can't remember if it's ever explained, like, how do you have all of this fucking technology that's like light years ahead of where we should be right
honestly
now?
Could be one of the things that they touch on in this next game, because and there is also, going back to that, I mean, we did get that bombshell regarding Rosette toward the end. So there's
Rosette's like from a future timeline. Yes, future timeline. Yeah.
So there's a very real possibility that, obviously that's gonna be maybe a central figure of this next game story and whatnot, and it could. And I think they also kind of hinted that was how they kind of developed some of this technology. Was they basically studied the life support pod that Rosette was in when she appeared in that time, and I think effectively they started like reverse engineering some of it to more closely mirror it and whatnot. But whether or not we get a proper explanation, I really hope we do.
Yeah.
I think they also poached a lot from the 13 factories and stuff like that.
That is true. Yeah, that is very true.
Georg,
Rosette's pod and whatnot.
Another thing that I hope
York is who I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Another thing I hope they touch on in the next game is, please touch on Mare.
Oh my God, yes. So my theory with Mare is that she is basically an equivalent to a divine beast. So because if you look at like all of the words that have been like blurped out like over the course of this arc, it's very, very, very easy to infer the fact that she has some manner of direct connection to the Septarian of Time. Like even with the blurb when you unlock the inner sanctum of the Grim Garden, where she says we don't have a lot of time before the blur, and then all of a sudden they start bringing up the Grand Reset, like, oh, this is what Mare was talking about and whatnot. And she mentioned like she was some sort of administrator for something and whatnot. So now I'm starting to think that, like, what if her role is similar to that of a divine beast, where maybe she's not meant to protect the Septarian of Time, but rather like interface with it or just do something related to that.
That could be interesting.
But yeah, I mean, Marduk say they did develop her, so I don't know. But then again, there was that scene with Dante's where he basically he did something, and then she had that whole crisis and was like, no, this isn't who I am, this isn't me, and then just disappears for that fight. It's like, okay, wait, something is 100% going on here. So yeah, I don't know. Rio, did you have any thoughts on that?
For Mare, I don't know exactly. I could see the Divine Beast. I could see her actually also being a future technology sort of innovation from there. Is that maybe she was the hollow that came along with that, but yeah, I don't know. It's also something I'm curious about. I just don't have a lot of theories.
Makes sense, yeah. Yeah, not a lot of information to go on as of this time.
Yes.
Okay,
Fair
when
enough.
you bring up Risha, for the love of God, Falcon, reduce her fucking tits, please. Poor girl's gonna have back.
Our girl needs back support.
Actually does.
Because like again, I've been streaming Zero and playing it again. It's like I know she's young. Obviously, she's younger in Zero, but like it's fine there. Like when you see her again in like Cold Steel 2, it's fine. Reverie, okay, you're getting a bit out there, but like, okay, it's an anime game. I can it's fine. I can get it. Daybreak 2. I know she plays Daybreak 2, but like that, and then like Horizons is just like, okay, you're now just taking the piss.
Yeah,
like,
now
you're actively seeing how big you can make them before like it gets too outrageous. They're bigger than a fucking head.
I don't feel like I would ever say this in my life, but it is because of the boob inflation of the general female cast of Trails. Is that Risha always has to have the biggest, but they keep making everyone.
But they keep upping the ante, so it's like, okay, we gotta take the golden goose and up her even.
If they're gonna be bigger, at least give her a Risha version quote of what Aurelia said in Cold Steel 3. Like, that's one of my favorite quotes I've ever seen in a video game, where she outright says, "Yeah, my tits too big. Let's just fucking break down the wall."
Oh, it's still one of the most iconic quotes. It's still so good. So out of pocket. So actually, that works out perfectly for the segue for the next point that I had and whatnot. So we talked a little bit about the other arcs and whatnot. So for you guys, how does, at least currently, how does the Calvert arc stack up to the other arcs of the Trail series so far?
Okay, I can obviously only speak. I haven't finished the Sky arc because again I haven't played second chapter. But I haven't played the third either. For me, I would say it's probably like my in totality at the moment is probably like my least favorite because for me it would go Cold Steel, it'd be like Erebonia, then Crossbell, and then Calvard. Mostly because, like, again, it's probably mostly biased when it comes to Cold Steel because it was my first arc. It was my first like full arc and everything, and I got a lot of attachment to that. But like the writing of like the Crossbell duology Zero and especially Azure. Oh my god! Like it's really hard to compete. It's really hard to compete with that. And while the Calvard arc has some really good like story story and games in there, especially like Daybreak 1 and for the most part like Horizons was I thought was really solidly written. I think it's like Act 3, we talked about it earlier, but Act 3 of Daybreak 2, in my opinion, drags that story down by a lot because it's just like because of everything everything that happens in it. It's like I can pick holes in like with like the whole like the curse with Erebonia and stuff like we did with Cold Steel 4. It's that curse still provides like one of my favorite. It's up there for like my favorite lines in like the entire series.
Oh yeah, with Ash, right?
With Ash when he's pointing the gun at Emperor Eugen and Osborne, and he's covering his he's not covering his eye at the moment at this point, and he says, "What do I have to do to get rid of all this pain?" And you can feel like the raw emotion in his voice because you can feel that Ash does not want to pull this trigger. He doesn't want to kill the Emperor. Like something is compelling him to do it, and it's Cold Steel 3. Cold Steel 3 is like really good. I still despite all its flaws and everything.
Yeah.
But I think it's also like Cold Steel 1 for me is damn, like in terms of like story and everything, is almost, especially with how you're setting up the villains, especially C, damn near perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And then going on to, and then obviously you have like the stuff with Cold Steel 2, which again, replaying that game again, I've actually come to appreciate Cold Steel 2 a hell of a lot more than I used to.
Oh yeah.
I used to not like, because like I feel like Cold Steel 2 is like a game that like you're not necessarily going to appreciate when you first play it, but on like repeat playthroughs you can actually start to appreciate it a lot more. So there's that, and then like when it comes to the Crossbell arc, you have like for the most part, the first game is like the first game is mostly about like Lloyd and Lloyd and Tio. That's more their game. A little bit of Ellie here and there.
And then obviously, like, and then Randy's arc was more Azure.
Randy's arc was more Azure.
Yeah, it was teased in Zero, but definitely came to the forefront, and a proper conclusion with Azure.
With Azure, yeah. And then like there's also like and then the setup in Zero with Kia and everything like that, and then the payoff in Azure. And everything, and it's so good. It's just great. But yeah, that's how I would rank them. It would be Erebonia, Crossbow, and then Calvard.
All right, Rio, how about you?
So, like Dan, currently Calvard ranks last.
Okay.
And I think that is in part because it is unfinished. And because what we talked about earlier, I think that Horizon is going to be very dependent on how they finish out.
Yes.
Yes. In a way that's even more drastic, I think, than Cold Steel 3. Because, again, I have not been shy about the fact that Cold Steel 4 was not how I wanted the Erebonian arc to finish out. I think it was very flawed. And Cold Steel 3 is still my favorite game from the Cold Steel from those ones. Because even if they didn't stick the landing, there's still so many great moments of that game and so much potential that came from it.
Absolutely.
I think Horizon has a lot of that, but not quite to the same extent, and so they need to stick the landing. But if they really do, I certainly can see it passing up Erebonia in my eye. But is it gonna go over Crossbell or Liberal, which I think benefit from just being a lot more coherent and streamlined, and not necessarily streamlined, focused. A lot more focused. I think Crossbell told its game in told the story in 2 games.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Falcom's just not able to write that way anymore, it seems. And that's unfortunate, but it is going to harm it in the long run. It's like, I'm not necessarily looking for more.
Sometimes less is more. I definitely agree with you there.
So Erebonia and Calvard are always going to be the really close comparison, because ultimately it seems like Calvard is going to end in 4 games and it's going to mimic pretty similarly. I think Cold Steel 1 and Daybreak 1 are on similar levels quality-wise. I'm not a big fan of Cold Steel 2, but it is still a better game than Daybreak 2. And then the third games are similar, with the edge going to Cold Steel 3. So it really comes down to the last one, and I certainly think it can.
For sure,
get there. But it's gonna take more than just being fine to get them there.
Like we had said, they're really going to need to stick the landing if I feel like they're going to need to show show us that they're capable of learning from the mistakes of Cold Steel 4 and be able to not only tell a very focused story, but also stick the landing with this entire arc that they've been setting up for like like a modern telling and whatnot. And then, like I said, like really gonna need to knock it out of the park for sure.
And I feel like they need to do that to show that they can still make good endings. And I know they can.
Oh, absolutely.
Trails in the Sky second chapter, Trails in the Sky the third, Trails to Azure, Trails of Cold Steel 2, all of them had, at the very least, solid, if not great conclusions. And then something got lost.
Yeah, something just got lost in translation, like when they started with the second half of the Erebony arc.
I think it's as I said earlier. I think it's because they try and add too much in terms of like plot threads that like you, because obviously if you're making like a series, you want people to be invested into buying the next game. So you want to have cliffhangers for like stories, which I think the CS1's ending is almost like the perfect cliffhanger for me in terms of a game, because like when I first beat Cold Steel 1 for the first time, I literally, as soon as it finished, went into the PlayStation Store and bought Cold Steel 2 because I was like, I need to know what happened. And it was the worst for like Cold Steel 3 because that ending is like the worst to be left a cliffhanger on. Because, like what happens with like Millium's sacrifice, Ring going berserk, and then like the reveal of the Ebon Knight Ishmelgar, and then also Osborne's like bit at the end where it's like, my son, let's paint this world is it ink as black as despair, or something along those lines.
Yeah, a line that went so hard they couldn't bring back the VA.
Yep.
Yeah. and then like that ending shot of Rain in like the chains, in like with the magic sort of circles around him, and you see that, and it's just like, I need to know what happened, and then you have to wait for it. It's just like, no.
Yep.
You were lucky, Farrah, because you
got
to CS4 immediately.
Exactly. It was and that's kind of an advantage that I had when, starting the series when I did and whatnot, is like, I basically had like every single game up to that point available to play. And then by the time that I finally did catch up with and finish the Erebony arc, Reverie's Western release was on the horizon and whatnot, but then they had also just released a proper release of Azure and Zero, so I got to experience that arc before going into Reverie, so I had a better understanding of the SSS and their story before going into that, and then now the Calvert arc was getting underway and whatnot, so got into that, and then between obviously Daybreak 2 and Beyond the Horizons and whatnot, I was like, okay, this might be a good time to maybe finally go and start the Liberal arc. And then they announced the Sky First Chapter remake. I'm like, you can't make this up. You can't make this up. Like, I picked the best time to get into this series.
Also, I'm gonna fist fight Joshua for what he did to Stella at the end of the Sky First Chapter. That's gonna be one thing I can't wait to see in second chapter, is the resolution to that, because like, I know why you're leaving, I don't agree with it, and I can't wait for Estelle to knock some fucking sense into you, bro. Yeah.
Okay, so as far as for my personal rankings, I definitely would agree. I definitely would also put Calvert probably on the same tier as the Erebony arc as far as structure wise goes. Like I said, like y'all had said, really gonna depend on how they stick this final game and whatnot, and just seeing how this entire setup comes to fruition and whatnot. But at least as of right now, and obviously, you know, I still got to experience the rest of Liberal as well. You know, second chapter remake coming out this fall will help that. But for right now, I mean, I don't really, like you said, I don't think anything's going to top the Crossbell duology for me. Like, that is how you tell a story with such a small region. And the fact that they did it in only 2 games, like you had said, Rio, is just, that's a level of quality that I don't know if they're ever going to be able to replicate, but I think it would be super beneficial if they did, because not every story needs to be like a grandiose four game thing that, you know, obviously drags all the time. Like, if you want to do like a bunch of setup and whatnot, but like that's one thing. But I am in firm belief that if you took out Daybreak 2 from the Calvert arc, nothing would change. Like, I'm under the impression that I don't think anything would change, and you could honestly do the Calvert arc in 3 games. I get why it exists. Yeah. I get why it's there, but from a fundamental standpoint, you could honestly, like, maybe even like take some of those events and put them in Daybreak 1, like maybe maybe just tease the rewinds or something like that. Or just figured like something.
Take the rewinds out in general.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I think the reason that they are there is it has something to do with how the because yeah, the way Dingo had said, like, you know, humanity's original sin and whatnot, and the Septarian of Time saying, like, you know, converting data into sin value and whatnot. It's like, okay, so that's probably why this game exists, is to kind of set up that factor and, like, you know, do that and whatnot. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you could, yeah, but then you'd have to cram in the Agenesis stuff. That is also true and whatnot. But yeah, but I honestly, but then again, there's a lot of different ways that they could have done Daybreak 2 and whatnot. Like, you know, structure wise, yeah, it's very weak and whatnot, but yeah. But yeah, depending on if this final game, like, exceeds the expectations and whatnot, and just completely, like, hits it out of the park, sticks the landing perfect 10, maybe not perfect 10, but like close to perfect, I could very, very well see Calvert like surpassing, like shooting up the rankings as far as my favorite arc goes. Because from a gameplay perspective, I love the Calvert arc. I love, like, they keep pushing the limits of the mechanics and whatnot. And the mix of real time and turn based, like, obviously was a hit, because they're remaking the Sky games with that exact system in mind. And I would honestly if they do continue to go down that path, and, you know, they keep, you know, if they remake Sky Third and maybe even the Crossbell duology with that combat system in mind, oh my God, that would be, it would just give me another excuse to fall in love with those games and whatnot. Yeah. So, okay, so speaking of remakes, though, so obviously we have the Sky Second Chapter remake coming later this year and whatnot. So, do you guys think that they might continue on that trend, like in between games? Like, do you think they're going to remake Sky Third Chapter and then potentially the Crossbell duology as well, to kind of more reintroduce those characters and their stories for a modern audience, so that way they have all the context clues to set up for this potential final arc where everyone is involved, like where we get to see everyone from previous games and whatnot?
100%.
Yeah, I can see them remaking, like, Sky the Third Chapter, as well as, like, again, the Crossbell duology. But as for, like, a game where, like, everyone's involved, I personally don't want to see them do that, because, like, how are you going? Because not only have you got to write a story where, like, at the bare minimum, the protagonists of each of the arcs have to at least be somewhat written, have to have somewhat meaningful stories. You've also got to try and cram in, like, maybe small stories for, like, some of the more major supporting cast members as well. and then also have it all make sense in a story that pays off everything. And I think that's a bit too much of a monumental task for them to do, because it would just seem like too much, and it would be too much, and also it would also be, it's like a lot but also nothing at the same time, because you're going to get a lot, but like the growth that these characters are going to go through probably aren't going to be as meaningful as you would want them to be.
Right. For sure.
Yeah, that's always going to be a challenging thing to do.
You can still have a story where you could still have like a finale story that closes off like the whole Zumeria like saga in its entirety. If you had like a story that was like that had like the protagonists for each of like the main arc. So like you've got Joshua and Estelle, Reen, Lloyd, and like Van. Well, I mean, Joshua and Estelle, because you can't really separate those two.
Yeah, obviously they're very much intertwined.
Yeah, and then you could have like some of like the big, like the sort of more recognizable casts from like those arcs all kind of working together, and then maybe like cameos here and there from like other characters in like the respective arcs. But like having a game where like every character from like all of them in like one final game, like the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate of Trail,
or the Avengers Endgame of the series.
Yeah, I think it would be a bit too much of a task. But yeah. I mean, the thing is, you can still do games set in the Trails universe, because remember, there's the whole situation in the East with like the
the decaying of the East and whatnot, and not to mention there's still plenty of other like there's areas we haven't explored, and not to mention they could do a lot of games like that touch on like major events that happen in the series. If I had a nickel for every time I have seen somebody say that they want a game centered around the War of the Lions, like the War of the Lion, I would have so many nickels.
Yeah, because it's the pivotal it's like the pivotal thing that the whole Cold Steel games are like revolving, because they keep mentioning it all the time. Because I think it was like in Cold Steel 2 where it was like kind of mentioned the most, where this is essentially kind of like War of the Lions Part 2 Electric Boogaloo, you know?
Yeah.
And then like, because that would be cool, because again, I want to know what happens, because you get just enough information about the War of the Lions that it seems really interesting to know what happened. You've got that. There's also the Calvardian Revolution as well.
Oh yeah, really absolutely, cool that too.
Like, hell, I wouldn't mind seeing like, because one of the major nations that we haven't gone to yet, but we know a decent chunk about, is Remiferia. Like you could do you could do maybe just one game, or again a duology of games centered around like Remiferia, so we get a bit more information about that, because that Remiferia is like the place where medical technology is like is rife. Like that's where like all that stuff comes from. And hell, again, you could do a single, maybe a duology would actually kind of fit it better, about the Free Cities as well, with like Crow.
Oh yeah, there's that too.
Do a spin-off game with Crow.
Even better, yeah.
100%. I said 100% for the rebus earlier. I think they were setting that up when they were talking about Crow and his adventures and having similar things to what Van was doing. Like they made that specific parallel, and I feel like that was setting up for like the Legend of Crow.
The Legend of Heroes Trails of Crow.
Oh yeah, Jirai too. Yeah, getting a proper introduction to Jirai as well. Yeah, honestly, yeah. And then the other location I had in mind, obviously, and this is a big one that I feel like is probably going to be central to the final arc, would probably be the holy city of Arteria, because
that's another one.
Yeah,
I think we go to Arteria briefly. I think we go there briefly in Azure. Because that's when we meet Kevin after like tracking down.
That was on the outskirts like of Crossbell and Calvard. Like I don't think I think we've seen like maybe still images of Arteria, but I don't think we've actually like ever been there in any of the games as of this point.
We haven't.
That reminds me. That's a character we should see in Beyond the Horizons too. Show me Ein.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Greta, like Ein appears in Sky the Third.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know she has like artwork and stuff, but like I want to see her again. I want to see her with Tovol, please.
Yes. With how much Tovol has like talked about Ein and whatnot. Yeah, no, we need proper interactions like between those two for sure.
Wait.
Le Mans State would be
Le Mans State, yes, too. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Isn't there like an entire it's the Cornelia books, isn't it? That's about like like roughly documents the relationship Tovol and Ein had.
I think it was that one.
I need to actually read the books in the Trails games because that's where Nadia and Swin's whole fucking story comes from, is from the books. 3 and 9. Yeah, 3 and 9 was that. Because that's in Reverie where Nadia sees it. She's like, where's my royalties?
It's still so fucking true. Oh my god. All right, Rio, what about you? You got any thoughts on this topic?
So, on the remake front, they're going to continue making the remakes. Sky First Chapter remake did so well, and Second Chapter will presumably just continue that. It only makes sense. In fact, when the President Kondo was talking about it, it pretty much was do we do Sky the Third or Crossbell next? That was the tone of what he was talking about.
Gotcha. Okay.
Personally, they should absolutely do Sky the Third next. Crossbell is okay. It does not. I don't think Crossbell needs a remake. I didn't think all of them needed remakes, anyways. But that's just me. I'm not the biggest asking for remakes of everything person. But it is important to get the stuff out there and get them on the platforms. And at the moment, Zero and Azure are available on all modern platforms, and
this
Sky the
is
Third
true.
Is only available on PC.
Yes, this is true. This is very true. Actually, I forgot about that. Yeah, Zero and Azure recently got like re-releases, like with modernizations, and so it is available on all modern consoles now. So even Sky First Chapter and Second Chapter, the originals, are available on more platforms because they at least came in English to PSP as well. Sky the Third never came to PSP in English either. It was always exclusively PC. Wow. Okay.
That was how it worked out there. So yes, they should and will continue the remakes. I think that I'd be okay if they stopped at Sky the Third. I'd be okay if they stopped at Azure.
Yeah.
I don't think they should go past Azure.
Honestly,
they're gonna do that. And then as for like the series direction and what we were talking about, I think that is something that could definitely be, once they've concluded the series in 2032, whatever year it ends up being, I think that they've got a choice of, do we want to make more games in this world that are connected but not part of the main series. And there are plenty of directions they can go. They can go with prequels, with War of the Lions, the Calvard Revolution, even the 100 Days War between Liberl and Erebonia.
That's another good one to touch on, yeah.
Or going beyond those, like maybe in a game that is the origins of the Bracer Guild or things of that sort.
Yeah.
Or they can follow specific adventures of characters that we already know. So Crow would definitely be one that can work for that. If we, depending on where we go for the final arc, like if we go to Remiferia, then we could do an Arteria game where maybe it's Gaius, maybe it's Celeste, maybe it's someone. Someone is the protagonist there, and they've got their own side story. And then if it's Arteria and not Remiferia, then we get a Remiferian protagonist or stuff like that. Who knows? They could even do Akatsuki no Kaseki as a fully fleshed out regular game, because I'm pretty sure that protagonist is set in Remiferia.
Right.
It's either Remiferia or Le Mans, I forget. And we've seen a little bit of a trend recently of taking former mobile titles and making them into full-fledged games, like with Octopath Traveler 0 and Another Eden. So that could be something. Or they continue on the Legend of Heroes and say, Zemeria, we had a good time, and we're going to let you sit for a little bit. We're going to be making some other ones, and they could go back to... They could remake the original Legend of Heroes games. Or the Gagarv trilogy that immediately preceded Sky. And I think that would be well received. There's plenty of directions, but Falcom's really trying to think on this.
Yeah, for sure.
Again, something I talked about in the state of Falcom for 2026 is that this is a really crucial year, and I think next year as well in figuring out. They are trying to find their way forward with East. They're trying to get Xanadu back up there with Kyoto Xanadu. Yeah. They're bringing back Dragon Slayer for a project, and Dragon Slayer is actually the original series.
I remember seeing that.
Legend of Heroes. So Dragon Slayer happened, then the Legend of Heroes spun off from that, and then Trail spun off from the Legend of Heroes. That's the original one. So they're really trying to figure it out, although any of you who have been following what's going on with Kyoto Xanadu know that it's weird. It's funky. Something odd's going on there, and it's concerning.
I see.
We'll see, but I'm interested in seeing what the future of Trails has to offer, and I certainly think it's going to be remakes and finishing off the main Trail series, and then after that, who knows?
Yep, because this series has, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the longest running series that Falcom has
you mean
currently.
The Legend of Nyata, Nova?
Oh yeah. Yeah, sure. But yeah, the Trail series at least has, I mean, it recently just celebrated 20 years, and like, as far as like, consistency in the series goes and the number of games, like, this is the longest running series that Falcom has under their belt at this time. And is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
East is slightly behind in number of games.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought.
Definitely ahead in number of years.
Yeah, for sure. But with this series, like, them having a definitive like end game goal in mind for like when they want to announce the final game, and then obviously release it in like the following years and whatnot. It's like, it will be very interesting to see like what comes next for them, and like where their focus some of the focus goes to after this series concludes and whatnot, because Yeah, and like you had said, and like, you know, this is a very you know, a very crucial year, because, you know, there's a lot that they have planned, and a lot of direction, and, you know, the direction they want to go. It's like, yeah, I mean, it'll be very interesting to see, like, what comes of not only this series, but, you know, this studio and whatnot, that, you know, like, that I've come to really enjoy games with. I know you guys obviously enjoy their stuff as well. So it's like, yeah, I mean, the future is, I want to stay optimistic and say it's looking very bright. So it's a lot of good times ahead, for sure. All right. So I guess it's kind of like this is kind of like, I guess, like, you know, more closing notes and whatnot. So I guess all in all, let's see. I guess, like, what are some, like, obviously, like, what are some of your guys' favorite, like, hang on. What are your guys' some of your guys' favorite games in the series, and what aspects of those games in particular would you want to see the series implement more of in the future? Because, like, for me, I would definitely say, I would definitely say that, like, you know, obviously, you know, like, I would say my favorite in the series currently is Crossbell, or is the Crossbell duology. And the thing that I love, and the thing that we had brought up with that game in particular too, is actually, hang on one sec, I'm gonna disconnect and reconnect really quick because I'm cutting out. Yeah, because one of the things that we had talked about that I really loved with that series is being able to tell such a good story with being very limited in the locale. Like, the locations were limited to strictly Crossbell and the surrounding areas. But even with an area as limited as that, it never really felt like you were super confined to the space and whatnot. It still felt like, you know, the world was still immersive. There was still plenty to do. Exploring the actual city felt rewarding. And it just, and you know, like we had said, you know, keeping it, you know, set at the locale. I think Enki had brought this up in chat too, where, you know, having that limited world meant more time to focus on character interactions, their personal arcs, stuff like that. So like, for a future game, I would actually, like, you know, talking about in these smaller areas and whatnot, like, you know, maybe Lamont State, Remiferia, maybe limiting to just, like, some, like, certain, like, you know, those areas in particular, and focusing on more on the character development and, like, the building and like further establishing those areas would definitely be something that I would really love to see.
I talk about this a lot with my favorite games, generally, not just Trails, but my favorite games in the Trails series also balance this. It is balancing the character motivations and the character relationships and all that with the wider conflict. And that both are linked while both getting satisfying general results. I will use Xenoblade Chronicles 3 as a great example. Does this
absolutely
so well. It does it so well. Those conflicts are always together while still getting forward, getting progress, and resolving both sides in ways that were satisfying to me. The games in the Trail series that I think best do this, and are my 4 favorite, would be Trails in the Sky 2nd Chapter, right, Trails to Azure, Trails of Cold Steel 3, and Trails in the Sky the 3rd.
Yep.
I think those are the ones that really balance that, because there are central goals that are done that motivate the characters beyond just this thing is happening in there. Y'all already kind of know that on the Sky, the 2nd Chapter side of things, even without having played the remake yet.
Yeah.
You know that there's gonna be bigger conflict, but Estelle's main goal is reuniting with Joshua.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
That's there, and that is linked to the main conflict. And, it's really good. And so that's what I want to see from Beyond the Horizon 2 and from the series as well, is that for Beyond the Horizon 2, I want Van to have specific goals to get to complete his arc while being connected to the overall the general stuff, which would probably be the Zeptarian of Time and the Eternal Recurrence, Grand Reset, Heaven's Turn, however you want to call it. And having those, be inexorably linked, and having that feel consequential.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because that's also where a lot of games unfortunately fall flat, is when the consequences of a particular game don't actually feel like consequences or are undone later on. Yeah. And that's unfortunately where Cold Steel 3 loses out because of Cold Steel 4, is that the consequences of Cold Steel 3 are significant and almost all get undone in the following game.
Yep.
And that didn't happen for second chapter, Sky the Third, and Trails to Azure. And that was always a good point for them, and I really want that to be the case. You don't need anything drastic, but you need, for the moments that are the emotional gut punches in an either good or not so good way for us in the game, those need to last.
Absolutely. So Dan, what about you?
This is just like for future games, yeah? Or
there's more like, what are some aspects you enjoyed about previous games that maybe want to make a return, or and then obviously like some stuff, like some of the traits of your favorite game in the series that you hope make a return.
Okay, so they've tried, because my favorite game of all time is a Trails game. It's Trails into Rivalry. The thing that I would like back from Reverie, they've tried twice and it sucked ass twice, so I don't want them to bring it back. Because the problem is, again, I'm going into another rant, but that's
fine. Go for it.
That's kind of what I did at this point. Is like the Reverie corridor was actually integral to the story of Reverie, whereas it feels like when it comes to Daybreak 2 and Beyond the Horizon, when it comes with the Maki and Garten and Grim Garten respectively, is like they built the story first and then tried to add these things in, whereas, as I say, the Reverie was built with the Reverie corridor in mind. I don't mind. I actually kind of like the idea of split routes, because, and I actually kind of liked how they did it in Horizon, because we knew Van's story was the main story, and while yes, it may have been a bit undercooked, but I like that Rings and Kevin's story acted as a supplement to give you more information about what happens with the main story, which I did think made sense. As I say, it was just a bit undercooked. So if Horizons did something like that, where you've got multiple routes and it gives more context to the main part of it, it gives more context to the main part, just put it in the oven a little bit longer, I think that would be fine. The big issue that I have with Beyond the Horizons 2, which I mentioned earlier, is I don't want them to have too many characters in the story, and not necessarily from a character standpoint, but especially from a gameplay standpoint. I'm sorry, but we don't need Leon and Solis playable, because I don't know what the fuck to do with them.
Well, and not to mention, like, those guest characters like that only being playable in that optional side dungeon, it kind of defeats the purpose of them even being playable in the first place. Because a lot of the times you just end up building members of the main party and then just kind of forget that they're there because they're only playable in one section of the game and then the side mode. And even then, the segments of the game that they're playable in, especially when they're first introduced, you can't change their equipment or like modify their builds in any way. And that you can only do that once they become available in this optional side mode. And even then, it's just like, why would I even bother doing this when I have the main party that just does the job even better?
Yeah. So that's the thing, is like, I don't mind them being there as like characters. That's fine. But like as playable, no. Another thing is like, keep it simple, because another issue that I feel like the games run into, especially like Daybreak 2, and in my opinion, especially Horizons, is you've got, and also Cold Steel 4, is like you've got way too many villains. Like, is like, because initially in Horizon, it was Ix. They were chasing after Ix, which is fine. If you want to build Van's story about like you're trying to get a brother back, that's fine. And then like the vestiges come out of nowhere, and it's like, okay, that's fine. And then but then you keep adding way too many. In my opinion, there's way too many vestiges. Like, again, I don't think Giacomo needed to be there. The Tyrant, okay, that's fine. Melchior, it's okay as well. But you've got that, and then you've also got, again, Ix is also there as well. And then there's like, Reed and Kevin didn't really have that. Reed and Kevin didn't really have too many like other villains, but it's just like, give us one central villain to like kind of go. You can still have like small groups and stuff, but like having a central antagonist would absolutely benefit the story, because then you're not going to undercook a lot. You're not really going to, at that point, you won't undercook a lot of your villains either. Again, just even though it's going to be a long story, just keep it simple, because otherwise, if you also can't add too many new plot elements into this story. Because you can't, this isn't the game to add plot elements in. This is the game to wrap up your plot elements.
Exactly. Like I would say like these, like the all the Calvert arc so far has laid the groundwork, and it's given this fourth game the exact tools it needs to not only wrap up the story but but also set up for the future and whatnot. So it's just a matter of like taking those elements and combining them together to make this story as satisfying a conclusion that will not only like satisfy the players, but also like the devs as well. Just like, give them that feeling of satisfaction of putting all of this together to tell the conclusion of this arc.
Yes. And I feel like, and again, this is more so like an idea earlier. It's just like a satisfying ending would just honestly be most of Arkwright, because again, this should be mostly about Van and like Arkwright Solutions. Like, again, you can have like, and also like Reen as well, because again, this last game should be again mostly about Van, but then like Reen having his final confrontation with Shizuna, and then like Kevin doing either hunting down LaToya Hamilton, because am I the only one who didn't really think Hamilton's either we didn't fully understand Hamilton's like motives, or she just never told us why she was doing what she was doing? Because I might just be dumb.
I think it was more or less like this is something that she's like she knew was an inevitability, but she really hoped to avoid that because, like, it was like what Renee said when he revealed to be also working with her. It's like we weren't like I wasn't aiming for failure, quite the opposite, in fact. But now that things have taken the turn for the worse, now we can hold firm in resolves and whatnot. But yeah, even then, like, but even then, I think the most central part of the ending of Kevin's route in particular was when LaToya called him out for basically like hesitating to pull the trigger, because even when he was ready, and she even said just like and I'm ready, it's like, but you keep finding ways to avoid pulling that trigger. So if anything, I think if anything it might, if you know what, if Kevin does get a central part in the next game and whatnot, it might be like maybe him like coming to terms with his convictions and whatnot, and like maybe like it's time to finally hang up the heretic hunter name for good or something akin to that. But I do agree that yeah, I do hope that like if Professor Hamilton does prove to be a central figure in the next game, like she's gonna need to come clean about everything, and I mean everything, because she's really she and Dominique are pretty much the only ones that know like the true nature of this failsafe and the logistics behind it and whatnot. So if anyone is going to fill in Arkwright solutions on like why this is happening, what's the cause, how everything works, it is going to be Professor Hamilton and then potentially Dominique as well.
I think it'll be Dominique over Hamilton, because if I remember rightly, at the end, before Agnes did what she did with the whole reset thing, Dominique looked like she didn't want to be there.
Yeah,
like she looked upset. So I feel like if you have like Chloe, if you obviously have Arkwright solutions, but also like Chloe and Judith confront Dominique and like smack some sense into her, I feel like that's when you can have Dominique explain what's going on, because I feel like Hamilton's more set in her resolve to help Agnes, whereas like Dominique is a bit more, as I say, hesitant, so you can get it from there. So again, I just want more clearer like conviction from like why LaToya's doing this and why she was doing it. And also I want Ouroboros to actually like do something.
It has felt like these last few games they have been kind of more sideliners more than anything. Like even during the intermission of Daybreak 2, where it was very clear that, you know, Harwood was the central threat for that section of the game, it didn't even feel like remotely satisfying, like with his involvement and whatnot. So yeah, I definitely agree with you there, where I would like to see Ouroboros kind of take more of a central role for this next game in some aspect and whatnot, because obviously the Grand Reset ties into the Eternal Recurrence plan. We just don't know how, so it would only make sense for them to provide either some clarification or action regarding that stance.
Yeah, and I think that's mainly it. I feel like for in terms of like gameplay wise, I don't think gameplay wise nothing needs to change. I think Horizons hit it on the head with how like the gameplay should work.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So that's fine. And then in terms of like, yeah, no, as long, again, as I say, it's mostly like I'm not necessarily worried about like the gameplay side of it or anything like that. I'm more so concerned about how they're going to tie all of this up, because there is a lot they need to tie up with this game. So it's more concern for story than anything else.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, because like you had said, I'm not really sure what else they could add gameplay wise to already make the experience better, because that was one of my favorite aspects about Beyond the Horizons, was just how clean the combat felt. Like even with Daybreak 1, with how like, you know, they set up the interchangeable real-time and turn-based stuff. I mean, the court system was definitely, they hit it on the head with that. The addition of shard skills, so it's essentially you're combining the gameplay styles of like all the games prior, because you have the hollow cores, which are taking place of the master cores. You have the shard skills, which you know, obviously you can set up depending on the quartz values and whatnot, which is very similar to how Sky and Azure did their stuff and whatnot. And you still have the arts plugin system, which is interchangeable, like the designated arts quartzes of the Erebonia arc. So on top of that, you add in stuff like the EX chains in Daybreak 2, and then ZOC in Beyond the Horizons. It's just like, I'm not sure what else you could even realistically add that would make the experience feel even more like fluid and impactful than it already is.
Honestly, at this point, it's addition by subtraction. It's seeing what may not work as well anymore, and
I would 100%.
I liked the remake because I felt like that was the stripped down version, and maybe for sure it doesn't need to go that far down. But I liked that format.
It's also like, if you add anything more to the combat, it's going to get overwhelming.
Oh, absolutely.
Because,
absolutely.
Because not only, because like, also you forgot to mention, Sarah, that the SCLM boosts take the place of the link attacks.
Yes, that is true.
Link and all that. But because if you add anything else, you've not only got to worry about your shot in combat. You've not only got to worry about your shard skills, but also like ZOC procs, and then we also have shard command, and then we have shard commands too, which are you know, orders, which are the return of brave orders and all that from 3 and 4. Yeah, I didn't use those like really.
Everyone always had to remind me to use those, because like after playing the first 2 games and then the Sky remake, it's just like I just genuinely forgot that was a mechanic. But then once I did remember that was a thing, it's like, oh my god, yeah, they're just as broken in this game as they were in 3, 4, and Reverie.
Yeah, it's also the only time I really actually used those shard skills, the shard orders and stuff, was during, I think, was it the third one? That the Grimguard 10 fight where you have to fight that giant wolf that Orica powers up.
Oh, because yep.
That fight sucks, by the way.
Then again, there were a handful of Grimgarden bosses that just were not it. I mean, the fights with the fight with Yorda and Lucrezia was hella annoying. The wolf was The wolf was up there. I would say, and then obviously the final one with the frickin' Ion and whatnot, where you have to frickin' win in 40 turns, and that thing is a giant fucking HP sponge. Yeah. Unironically, I think the cleanest Grimgarden fight was the final bout with Simeon. Like that one, it didn't feel overwhelming. It was very easy to get a read on his attack patterns, and it just felt uber satisfying. And it was only one enemy with not a lot of status ailments to deal with. Just everything else was just like, I don't know about this one. And I guess the Volter and Campanella fight was also pretty good too. Yeah.
Yeah. That's it really. It's just like, just please don't bring back the Garten.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I can maybe foresee them doing something similar to that, because and maybe even they bring back the Merkian Garten a third time, because they did tease an underlying mystery with that abyss that Novartis was analyzing inside of it and whatnot. So realistically, I feel like it's inevitable that it's going to come back, but maybe it'll actually take more of an inspiration from the Reverie Corridor and actually have plot significance this time because of that whole mystery that was brought up at the end of it and whatnot. So at least that's what I'm hoping. It's because, like, if it's just another optional side dungeon that you can, like it's just like, easy to get materials and whatnot, it's like, okay, sure, like, whatever. Like, yeah, like we had said, as long, like, if the American Garden actually has plot relevance, then yes, then bring it back. If not, just no thanks. No thanks. But yeah, I didn't really have any other bulletin points than that I had written down. So any final thoughts from you guys? Anything else that you wanted to bring up and discuss at all?
Play Trials.
Well, obviously.
And if you've already played it, replay it. And if you've already replayed it, replay it again.
We're actually gonna say play East. Here.
Oh yeah, that too. Very true.
Just play Falcom. Just
play Falcom games in general. They got some gems. Hell yeah. Well, like I said, yeah, that's really all I had for that today. So I think that'll do it then. Honestly, this was a fun time, going over, like, all of this and whatnot, and then just kind of thinking of, well, what's next for the series and whatnot. This was a good experience. So Dan, Rio, thank you guys for joining me on this. I very much appreciated you guys taking time out of your day to pop in and just talk about the series and whatnot. So I very much appreciate it.
I am always down to yap about Trails.
Thanks for having us on.
Heck yeah. Well, I guess really all that's left to do is just wait out the next, like, 4 or so months for Sky Second Chapter Remake, and then maybe hopefully by this time next year, we will have a release date and a title for the final game of the Calvert arc. So
I would generally expect to.
Trails Beyond the Horizon 2, Prepare to Cry edition.
Yeah, I'm preparing for all manner of emotional damage with that game, and it's not even close. It's not even close. Well, yeah, I think that'll just about do it then. So I, once again, thank you guys for joining me. I will definitely let you know if I want to do something similar to this in the future. So, but yeah, absolutely. I also hope you guys had a great time just, talking about the series and whatnot, and, hopefully we'll just, reignite some theories and whatnot, or just, light the fire and just get excited for the future of the series, and well as just Falcom in general.
Yes.
Heck yeah. All right. Well, I guess I will leave you guys there. You guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining me, and I'll talk to you later.
You too, Farah.
Yep. See ya. Subscribe, or I'm gonna take your kneecaps.